You are listening to Any Given Sunday, a part of the Dead End Podcast Network. Please subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and all other podcasting services. Please make sure you check out Dead End Hip Hop, Dead End Sports, Dead End Gaming, Is the Mic Still On, Chris Platt's Strictly Hip Hop and Hoops Talk, and a host of other shows on our podcast network. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. You are listening to Any Given Sunday for Sunday, January 10th, 2021. I am your host, Manny Brown, joined by my co-host, Josh. What's good?
What's going on, Manny? No need to say this, but it's been a crazy week. It's been crazy.
Why do you say that?
I don't know.
It's a typical week, 7 days in a week, Monday through Saturday. Yeah, Knicks lost twice. The Lakers are winning. Steph Curry's cooking people on, proving doubters wrong. Everything's normal in the world. I can't tell, super wild card weekend, I guess, was a success for the most part. I don't know. I don't know why you would say it's a crazy week in America. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. How's everything with you, man?
Everything's okay, man. I've been just irritated, rightfully so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna self-proclaim that it's rightfully so. I've just been in a mood, man. I woke up today just in a mood. Started doom scrolling right away on Twitter once I woke up, and that's the way it's been since whatever. I don't even know what day it was.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. That's the thing about being in like a pandemic and like being mostly at home all the time. It's like days start to just run together. They're just like, What day is it? Is it Friday? Is it Tuesday? I don't know. Fridays become Tuesdays. Tuesdays become Saturdays. You just kind of lose grip with reality at points. But yeah, man, interesting week. A week that we will talk about forever. I think.
Seriously,
or at least for our lifetimes, anyway. Right.
Always. I will always have this conversation.
Right. Let's not bury the lead. What was it? Wednesday, January 6th, 2021. I think it's a day that, at least for in our lifetime, will live in infamy, depending on what part of the aisle you sit.
No, it will be. 30 years from now, everybody in this country, like whether you're a Republican or whatever the party is at that time, this is not going to be kind to the people who supported this.
I hope so. Your lips to God's ears on that. Obviously, we don't need to, bore y'all with the details. You guys know what happened on Wednesday, the storming of the Capitol by domestic terrorists. That's what we call them. That's what they are, domestic terrorists.
That's right.
I would go a step further. White Christian terrorism at its finest right there. Yeah, man. I mean, without further ado, what are your thoughts on everything that happened on the days leading up to Wednesday? Of course, Wednesday, and then where do we go from here?
I mean, there's a lot to just say. I mean, I guess what comes to my head first was, I don't think I'm really surprised that it happened. I don't know about you, Manny, but it's not surprising that this happened. Trump has basically been riling up his base for the longest time now. I mean, he's even before the election trying to, defund the post office and try to do everything in his power to make it seem like this election was stolen from him before the election even started. His rhetoric, his tweets, everything has led up to this moment. It is not a surprise that this happened. This man has incited violence over and over again. And it does not surprise me that a bunch of people who are Second Amendment nuts, would go to the Capitol building, while Joe Biden is, being certified, but, in the Senate or in Congress and feel like they need to save their quote unquote country. It just doesn't surprise me. None of this surprises me. I'll say what's been said throughout the whole week. I mean, to state the obvious, if it was a Black Lives Matter protest, nobody would have made it past the steps, period. It'd have been the U.S. Tiananmen Square. That's exactly what it would have been. It would have just been a bloodbath. And I think if anybody denies that at this point, you're just ignorant or racist. There's just no other way around it. I think that just a contradiction of how blacks are treated in society it's in the shiniest light it could possibly be in right now. And if you can't see it, I'm not sure you ever will. So, I mean, we can get into specifics. We can talk more in depth about why it happened, who they were, what happened during it. But my overall thoughts are that it is absolutely insane to me that we just had an attempted coup, and it doesn't seem like any of my conservative friends give a shit. And it doesn't seem like anyone who's apolitical in my life really cares to care. And that's a very, very scary thing. And that's anecdotal. So I don't know how everyone else feels.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, everything that you said, couldn't have said it any better. You know, what we saw on Wednesday. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened. It took this long to happen. Honestly, like this has been something that's been bubbling. It's been boiling. It's been simmering, and it just, you know, whatever expression or adjective, whatever you want to use, you know, chickens coming home to roost, whatever. It was something that was bound to happen, and honestly, I'm surprised it took this long to happen. Yeah. It's just, I'm sitting there Wednesday, and it's just, in a way it's unbelievable, in a way it isn't. Like, in a way, like I never thought we'd see what we saw on Wednesday, and then it's like, it's just crazy to me how, in a way, even on Wednesday, we were so desensitized to it. Like, it wasn't a shock. Like I expected my jaw to be on the floor watching it happen. And it was like, for a little bit, maybe for like the first hour, it was.
I was laughing at first.
Oh, I was laughing. Like, I went through kind of like a gamut of emotions. Obviously, it was shock, like, oh shit, this is actually happening. Then it was like, what the fuck? Like, live tweeting it, you know, play by play, breaking it down and shit. And then it's like laughing at these imbeciles in the Capitol, like just completely just making an ass out of themselves on worldwide television. And then just kind of like going through the anger and that upset feeling of like, how do we get to this? Like, how the fuck did we just really get to this moment in time, this moment in our lifetime where it's just like, we really just saw a fucking coup on worldwide television.
Attempted.
Attempted. Yeah. Like, literally. And it's not hyperbolic. Like, we're not actually just, you know, being hyperbolic or like, that's essentially what happened, right?
Yes,
like
1000%.
Like, literally armed people entered the capital of the United States and literally tried to, you know, stop democracy from happening in some sort of fashion, right? Like,
they put a noose at the side of the building.
Exactly. Like, there was a dude that came in there with freaking Molotov cocktails, people with weapons. Like, this shit was real. Like, this, exactly, right? Like, you can't, there's no other way to like explain it or put it in any other words, right? Like, and it's not even about being hyperbolic or being overly dramatic. Like, this is what happened, right? And it's just so crazy to me that like we're at this level. But then in another sense, it's like, it really isn't that crazy, because this is America. Like, I know it's popular to say that now, you know, especially after Childish Gambino on the song, but it's like, this is America. Like, this is legit. This is who we are. And I'm so tired, right, of like, you know, and you see this with like older white media and cable news and all that. Like, oh, this is not who we are as a country. America's the shining city on a hill. All this bullshit platitudes that you hear in the history books and historians write. And it's like, no, this is who America is. Like, this is who America's always been.
But we knew that. Like, that's a thing that, like,
we know. No, but I think
white middle class bought into. I don't think we bought into that.
Yeah, us and our generation probably hasn't bought into it, but I think a lot of people have bought into that, man. And I think a lot of people just like, no, this is who we are. This is genuinely who we are. Like, this is America. Like, you know, America likes to think that we're all these things: the city on a shining hill, the example of democracy, and all this other shit, right? And it's like, no, like, we, you know, as we were fighting World War II, we were also, you know, completely just discriminating black people in this country, right, and lynching them and torturing them and making their lives a living hell. Literally, as we're fighting for democracy and freedom around the world, we don't have democracy and freedom in our own country. Like, this is America. Like, legitimately, this is America, right? Like, as we're, you know, preaching to other countries around the world about democracy and freedom, we're also installing puppet governments around the world, and also basically, you know, our form of totalitarianism and authoritarianism. If
anyone knows how to do a coup, it's us.
Right. You know, but it's like we sit here and buy into, and we subscribe to, and I'm not saying us, but just in general, like we buy into these platitudes and these bullshit sayings that we've all heard, right, for decades upon decades. And it's like, no, like, this has always been America. The only difference now is that now there's Twitter, now there's Snapchat, now there's, you know, Periscope and TikTok, and every phone has a camera, and there's a camera on every street light. Like, that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
This is like I always hate when, like, oh, we're as divided as we ever have been. Really? Because we literally fought a civil war like 200 years ago. So, like, legit.
And honestly, everything like after segregation, like, the Jim Crow laws, all that, it was just swept under the rug, man. It wasn't like this stuff was field. Like people feel like, I feel like a lot of times, and especially a lot of like my white friends, and this is, I have to make it racial. I just have to.
You have to.
Yeah. Show. I think a lot of my white friends, when we grew up, I mean, learn these things in history. I don't think they're racist, but I don't think they understand that like these things still exist. So like in our textbooks, it's like back in the 60s, black people couldn't do this, but now they can. And all my white friends are like, yay, it's all solved. Like and they think it's over. It's not over. It hasn't been over. All it has done was sweep everything under the rugs. And these people had children who became police officers, who became doctors, who had positions in the government, like conservatives who, were in the government at the time who weren't for, segregate or who weren't for desegregation. Well, now they go back to the drawing board and figure out ways how to, get power back by things like gerrymandering and things of some sorts. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like, and this is where I'm hopeful, because I do feel like a lot of like my white modern friends are starting to realize that. So even though like if there's one thing I can take that's positive from this, I think it just shows our side even more. Like, this like conservative, whatever this is, Trumpism, they have lost their fucking minds. And I think a lot of people are starting to stop both siding things. Like, this is not a both sides issue. It's not. I understand that we as liberals and we as progressives can be a little annoying sometimes with certain things that we ask for, and a little might be a little too purist and like cancel culture and shit like that. But as frustrated as you are with those type of things, they do not compare to what the problems are to Trumpism. Doesn't even come close.
No, I'm with you. And it's, and just drink my water. Sorry. Okay. It's infuriating, right? Because it's like, we still, like I said, we still want to buy into the platitudes and the things that we read in our history books. Like, what people forget is like the winners write the history books.
Yes.
America writes all the history books. So it's going to be skewed in this like overly xenophobic, pro-America, like America did everything great.
Capitalist.
And, capitalist agenda written books, right? So like the victors write the history books. Like, had Germany won, they probably would have wrote some different shit.
Yeah, sure.
Had the British won, they definitely would have wrote some different shit, right? So like winners write the history books, right? So winners get to tell the story. It is what it is, and it's always going to be that way. So like, I think the responsibility of everybody is to not necessarily not taking that information, but also do follow up and residual, researching on top of that, and understand that like, this is just a segment of the truth, or this is just a perception of the truth, and not the actual truth, or not the full faceted story that we all need to hear. Right. And it's just, I just want, like, so obviously we saw what happened and we dissected what happened. How did we get here? Like, how did we get here? Because I'm always one of those people that I want to look at the why and how we fix it, or where we go from there. So I'm like, well, how did we get there? And it can't just, and even before I let you go, I want to say this, because again, the easy thing to do is just say, yep, Donald Trump, he's the worst. He did it. It's all Donald Trump. It all started with Donald Trump. It all ends with Donald Trump. No, I think Donald Trump was just the match that just,
I agree,
lit the whole fucking thing on fire. Like, this shit has been bubbling and has been simmering long before Donald Trump ever tweeted his first birtherism tweet. Like, this thing has been simmering. And I think it started with, I'll even go back to the 80s with
Reagan.
Fuck that. It started with Nixon and the war on crime and tough on, no, not the war on crime, the war on drugs and the tough on crime shit, Atwater and Bush and Reagan in the 80s. Like, the Republicans have been dog whistling for a long time. The Republicans have played this game of making you afraid of the non-white man. Right. They've pushed that agenda. They flooded that agenda for so long in sophisticated ways. Right. Like, obviously the way Bush and Reagan did it's totally different than when Trump is like literally saying the things that they don't want you to say out loud. Right. Like, he's just literally just saying everything that you don't want you to say out loud. That's why they don't like him secretly, is because he literally just exposes all the thoughts that they secretly have. Like, he just says it out loud.
And that's why the base likes him, because it's like,
finally somebody says it. Exactly. But Trump is just the gasoline that lit the fuse. You know what I mean? I agree. He's the match that lit everything on fire.
Right? I actually think that I'll take it a step further. I think the match that lit the fuse was us electing a black president. I really do.
I think it's all part of the process, right? Like I think it started with Nixon.
That's what set it off. I agree with you, but I think if, let's just say that year we elected, I don't know who else was running that, John Edwards. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think we're here. I don't think we're here right now. Now the resentment's still here. We still have the same people.
You know why I disagree with you? You know why I disagree with you? Because let's say we do it like John Edwards. Let's say Obama's a footnote in history. He never does anything after that keynote speech in 2004. And it's John Edwards or Hillary Clinton or whoever, right?
Well, Hillary, I think is right.
Hillary would have led the same thing. I get what you're saying. The only thing I disagree with is I think we were bound to head there because I think this, more than anything else, is a repudiation on neoliberalism and neoliberal politics.
Agreed.
Permeated this country for 40 years.
I agree.
This idea that, this kind of centrist framework is the best route to go. That's why I think we still get here. We may not get here in 2020. We may get here in 2028.
No, I agree.
But we still get here. You know what I'm saying? Obama just accelerated that.
Yes, we're saying the same thing.
Right.
We're absolutely saying the same thing. I do agree that we would eventually got here, and I think a lot of it has to do with like neoliberal policies. But I think that electing a black man,
absolutely,
because now you can dog whistle anything. Which is what the Republican Party basically did, starting with the birther movement. Obama's a Muslim from Kenya. Where's this guy? Like just anything and everything that you can think of. And then on top of it, it's coming from a news source in Fox News, which just so happened to be the most trusted news source for the conservatives. So now they're hearing it from a news source that they think is credible. They turn on AM radio, and Rush Limbaugh, who's one of the most trusted news sources in conservative media, is saying this type of things. So now all the dog whistles aren't honestly really dog whistles anymore. It's just straight up racism.
No, it's a bullhorn now. It's not even. It's not even
a bullhorn. And let's be honest, most of the Republican base is taking this in, right? So now 2012 comes, you have Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney's just a button-down politician who's not saying the things that the base wants. He's just not. So I don't think that's why they didn't resonate with Romney. What happened with Trump is Trump finally says what they want to hear. Most of these Mexico's not sending the best. They are rapists, they are murderers. Some I assume are good people.
Right.
People resonate with that. People resonate with a lot of other different things. On top of the fact, and you are correct about this, neoliberal policies and how do you fix those things? Well, populism. He had a populist message. So it was just kind of like the perfect storm.
Perfect storm, yeah.
Yeah, but I also don't think we can just dismiss the fact that a lot of it had to do with we elected a black president, and for years, with Reagan and Bush's, like Republicans have been dog whistling to their base. And then it exploded in their face. And I
want to speak on that, right? Because I hold Republicans, people say I'm too easy on Trump. No, I can't stand Trump. Trump is a fucking piece of shit. And this week all but solidified it. But I'm someone that believes that, I'm never surprised at the devil, like we know who Donald Trump is. It's like when people show you who they really are, believe them. Like Donald Trump for the last 4 years, I would argue for 40 years, has shown people who he really is. This is the same person that literally wanted to execute 5 teenagers because he thought they were rapists in Central Park. Like this is the same person that he was in 1989 that he is now just turned up to like 20. Like this is the same person. This is who he is. Like why are we surprised now that in the ending days, in the declining days of his 4-year presidency, we're still expecting something different. We're still expecting different behavior. Like he is who he is. But I don't blame Trump because again, Trump is just a vessel where all this shit flows through. I blame the Republican Party for the dog whistling, but I also blame the Republicans that knew better, but didn't give a shit because they wanted to score political points. They wanted to own the libs. They wanted to own the libs, or because they wanted to gain in their own political aspirations, and decided to get in bed with Trump. Right? They decided they didn't care about Donald Trump. Wasn't too extreme for them when he was dog whistling on birtherism. And when he was tweeting racist bullshit after racist bullshit, as when he was just a private citizen and then as a candidate, they didn't care. They didn't care, right? They got in bed with them because they knew it was what was most beneficial for them. And they knew the base loved it, ate it up, right? Fired them up, and they went right along with it. And now all of a sudden you're appalled. Now it's a cross too much to bear. Fuck that. You knew what the fuck you got into. You just couldn't control him. You know what he is? He's those mobsters in Dark Knight that got in business with Joker. And now all of a sudden they're just surprised that the Joker is just this anarchist. Like that's who he is.
Right.
And he's always been that.
But honestly, there's not a lot of people who were like Ted Cruz is still with him, Josh Hawley, like Lindsey Graham is one of them who like immediately kind of withdrew everything.
Yeah, they broke, but how long? Because they had to. It's like they know they have enough. I don't even want to say it's wherewithal. They have enough savvy, for lack of a better word, to understand that like at that moment you almost had to break with them, right? Like you almost had to like say, you know what, geez, like I can't support this shit, right? Like right. They had enough smarts to do that. Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, they just showed who they really are because they are aspirationalists. They want to be president and they want to take the mantle of.
It's all about 2024.
Yeah, right. They're already lining it up. They're already putting all this stop the vote or, stop the vote and calling the election a fraud. All of this is just setting it up for a framework for 2024. And that's all they're doing. Josh Hawley has aspirations for 2024. Ted Cruz has aspirations. Matt Gaetz has aspirations for 2024. Like all these people are just lining themselves up because they want to take that mantle of MAGA and take it forward, right?
Dan Crenshaw. You see Dan Crenshaw's video? He did.
Tool. He's a fucking tool. He's a perfect example of like just because you wear a fucking military uniform does not make you qualified to run for public office.
Agreed.
Like he's just an idiot. An idiot.
He's one of the worst. He's top 10. Right. Top 10 worst politicians in the United States.
Oh god damn. It makes it worse is that literally is a vet and just but. It's so that's who I blame. That's who I hold the most responsible for this, right? It's like the Republican Party for years had no problems. We called it dog whistling. I say it's a bullhorn now, like bullhorning these racist, ideologies and this idea that the white, this white man, this white man pity party that we're losing our grip on our hold on America, whatever the fuck they want to call it. They've perpetuated this myth and this saga for so long that you've inflamed and gaslit people to the point where they feel like this shit is like they're playing with people's lives.
Yeah. People literally think they're losing the country right now.
And the other thing you cannot ignore, and I go back to this, right? There's no coincidence that all this is bubbling and we have a global pandemic. When you tell people, when you lock people in their houses for 8, 9, 10 months, and then, oh, by the way, you don't pay them. Right. People are losing their businesses, are on unemployment, everything that they've ever known and loved. They just suddenly, in a span of a few weeks, their whole world changes. It's not a shock that this is all happening. So while we call Trump the match that lit the fire, it might be COVID, the fucking match that lit the fire, right? Like that's what I believe. I think without COVID, I don't think this happens. In the same breath that I think that without COVID, I don't think that the protests in the summer and George Floyd don't have nearly the same impact. I think people are home. I think people are fed up. I think people are angry. This just comes on the heels of what? A debate over the last couple of weeks about what $600 stimulus checks. There's no coincidence that this happened literally a couple of weeks really after that, and just people are just fed up. I think this country is a ticking time bomb right now for a lot of different reasons. Of course, I'm not taking the blame off of Donald Trump. He has literally stirred the pot like no other person could stir the pot. Absolutely. I'm not taking the blame off him. I'm not taking the blame out of the Republicans. I'm also not taking the blame out of the Democrats. I know you get on me for being hard on the Democrats. I think the Democrats have blood on their hands in other ways, not necessarily this, in other ways.
No, I agree with you on that. I think you should be hard on the Democrats. I just think we have to be very careful when we criticize the Democrats to make sure we differentiate between Democrats and Republicans in their role as to why things are going down. To me, there is one party in this country that is substantially worse than the other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't disagree with that. My issue is that I know what I'm getting with the Republicans. With the Democrats, you're supposed to be on my side. And it almost feels like Cal Kalinske calls them, they're Republican light. They're diet Republicans. It's like they're the nicer Republicans. They're the ones that are going to put BLM blocks on their videos, and they're going to put a little BLM banner as they continue to screw over people of color in their own kind of ways.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what I call exactly. Right. And it's like, that's what I see. And it's like, no, you are just as culpable in this as the Republicans. Yes, the Republicans are still tier one pieces of shit, but the Democrats are the Democrats are also feeding into that. And that's what I think that, and I always strive to remind people of that. It's like, no, you've contributed to this just as much as the Republicans. You know what I mean? And my anger is that you know better. You're doing this and you should know better, as opposed to Republicans who I never ever can give.
You don't think Ted Cruz knows what he's doing right now? You don't think he knows?
No, I know he knows what he's doing. I mean, but again, I don't respect Ted Cruz is a fucking chameleon. Like literally the fact that he's still willing to die and defend this fucking guy who literally talks shit about his family, talks shit about his wife. Like, come on, dude. Like
his father was part of the JFK.
Right. Like, so this dude is not anybody that should be trusted, right? Like this is not a guy that you go for as like, yeah, Ted Cruz is going to be the voice of reason.
But how do millions upon millions of Americans support this man? Like, he's going to be a front runner for 2024. You know that.
I don't know, man. I have no. I have.
Holds up the Bible. Is that what it is? He just holds up the Bible. Is that what you have to do?
I think that's what it is. I think. Look, people vote for different reasons, right? And the other aspect that I think you have to remember about this, right, is that the Republicans, for those that want to give credit to the Republicans, that this was the breaking point for a lot of Republicans. Cabinet members resigned, and this, that, and the other, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy. They got their tax cut. They got their judges, they got their, they got their policies to deregulate different government entities. So you guys won.
Yeah. For the past 4 years. Absolutely.
You've won. Right. So yeah, that's great. Yeah. Now Trump, you have no need for him, or you feel like you have no need for him. So now it's easy to break. I don't care. When you should have broke from Trump was in Charlottesville. When you should have broke from Trump was, during the Muslim ban. That's when you should have broke from Trump. So I don't give you credit now. Right. You don't get credit for me now. Like Colin Powell was on one of the Sunday morning,
he's not a part of the Republican Party.
I'm not a part of the Republican Party. Why didn't you say that shit when you were killing millions of fucking Iraqis on false pretenses? Why wasn't that the breaking point?
And everybody who comes out after Trump is actually people who just are at the end of their term limits and retiring.
Right. So it's like, come on. And plus all these people that are resigning, Betsy DeVos still has her billions, so she's going to go, speak and still make money and still have her wackadoo views on schooling and education in this country. So she's not going to be hurt anything by it. Maybe some business, some potential business clients may not want to do business with her down the line because she was involved in this or whatever. Like, cry me a fucking river. She's still going to go home to a bed full of money with some wackadoo ideas. So she'll still be fine. You know what I mean? And all these other people that like some of these other cabinet people and all these other motherfuckers that like ditch Trump, they're thinking about their next political job. These are all grifters at the end of the day. So they're just trying to think, they're just trying to save face for the next Republican that comes in the office. And they're just going to play, see, I had enough nobility to know better and to dish Trump and to dissociate myself from that.
It's just so disheartening that it's going to fool so many people. Like, you know what I mean? That's the disheartening part. But actually, I don't know. Like, where does the Republican Party go for here? Trump loses, right? 2020.
The base is still there. A lot of the base is still
Trump's
there.
Base is still. But do Republicans now have to embrace Trumpism and turn into a party of Trump?
Yes. I don't think you can go back to Bush. I don't think.
How many moderate Republicans stay with that?
They're going to stay because they're going to choose party over politics. They're going to choose party and
even after
politics.
After a failed coup.
Yes.
Even after Trump eliciting all this.
The thing you're missing, Josh, and I'm not saying you're missing it in like a negative way. The thing that you're not seeing is that things will calm down after this for a while.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even say that. Knocking on wood. There's still lots of time for some dumb shit to happen, right? But for the most part, let's just say things calm down after a while. Trump goes away. Look, and that's another thing. I don't think they should impeach him. Like, what's the point? First of all, he's out of office in what? 10 days? 9 days, something like that? 11 days, something like that?
You have to set a precedent, dude.
But here's the thing. Okay, now it's just you draft impeachment papers tomorrow. He's not going to get impeached by the 20th. It's just not going to happen from a logistical standpoint. It takes time for these things to happen. And plus Mitch McConnell, trials and all that. And plus Mitch McConnell is going to be still the Senate Majority Leader still for a couple of weeks. It's still like a transitional period, right? So even then, what are you really accomplishing? Okay, yes, you impeach him in name only. Yay, we impeached him. We drew the articles. Nothing's going to happen. He's going to be out of office already, and then he's going to be a private citizen again, and then that whole quagmire opens up. Hell, he still might even pardon himself at this point. So I just, to me, and plus, the other thing about this too, if you go down this road of impeaching him or doing the 25th, that only emboldens his base. That only fires up those fucking wackadoos.
But fuck them, bro. Like, honestly,
no,
like,
but it's easy to say.
We're not supposed to arrest a dude who.
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. All I am saying is that now you're giving these motherfuckers even more ammunition to do some stupider shit.
But they're gonna find ammunition. They're gonna find ammunition no matter what.
I get it.
That's my point. Like they're gonna racists are gonna find ways to be racist. Like sexists are gonna find ways to be sexist, and Trumpists are gonna find ways to defend Trump. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, this man needs to be held accountable for his actions. We need to set a precedent in this country saying this shit cannot fucking happen again.
I agree with you. With you, and I don't want anybody to take it as I'm not saying that I don't agree with you. Right. My point is, had he had a year left, had this happened in 2019, I would say absolutely. Like what he got impeached for compared to what this is. Right. It's like 10 times. Like, this is what the fuck he should have got impeached for. Let's be real. I mean, and plus, we both said it. You know, Ukraine was like the 20th worst thing he's done.
Right. Which he was guilty of. Which he was guilty of,
yes, by the way. Yes. But like literally, like, yeah. Right. Right. So like that's like the 20th worst thing he's done. Right.
Right.
So what I'm saying is like, look, let's just get this dude out of Washington, get him out, and then let the Southern District of New York, let Biden and his federal justice department, do what they're going to do with him, whatever. To me, the best thing right now is to not give these motherfuckers any more ammunition right now in this 10-day period. And then after that, let him go away. Let him think he's doing, because he's still going to be in trouble when unless he pardons himself from federal crimes, and he's still going to be in trouble for all the other shady business shit that he's done. And, obviously the Southern District of New York has pending investigations on him. So he's still going to have to deal with a shitload of things after he's out of office. So to me, don't even waste your time, because again, from a logistical standpoint, what are you hoping to accomplish? Let's say you impeach him.
It's just precedent. It's just precedent for me. Right. That's what I think it's important. I think it's important, man. I mean, this guy literally incited a coup.
I get it. I understand. And even with that, Josh Hawley still voted to not certify the election results. Ted Cruz, 6 other Republicans still voted. Even when their lives were fucking in danger, when they were boarding the fucking Capitol, these 6 people still said, yeah, you know what? I think Joe Biden's not really the president. Even after all of that. Come on, like what precedent are you setting? Like this, to me, we're so far gone. We're so far gone that I don't even think you could set precedent. Like, I just don't think that you can even and I'm usually a guy that says, yeah, hold people accountable. And again, had he had 2 years in office, I'd be singing a different tune. Yeah, impeach his ass, drag his ass to jail, kick his ass out of office. Absolutely. People forget impeachment is a political proceeding. It's not a criminal proceeding.
Right.
You know what I mean? So from a political standpoint, you gain nothing because, again, from a logistics standpoint, he's going to be out of office in 10 days? So it's not even you're not even gonna have enough time to even have a trial to even get it through the House and pass it and then get it to the Senate. Like you're not even gonna have the time from a logistical standpoint to even accomplish it.
Invoking the 25th Amendment?
Yeah, but to me, if you would have done that, you would have done it Thursday night.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now we're so far gone. Like, what are you going to do? Invoke the 25th Amendment? Yeah, what's the point? What's the point? He's out of office in 10 days. And then he's going to feel the wrath of whatever it is he's going to feel. And even from a federal perspective, I think he's probably going to pardon himself. I would not put it past him to pardon himself on the last day. Biden becomes president at 12, because for those who don't know, Biden doesn't officially become president until 12 noon, January 20th. So at 11:58, he'll pardon himself. I have full expectation that he'll pardon himself on 11:50 and he'll be free of federal crimes. That still doesn't affect all the other shit that he has to go to answer for.
It's fucking crazy they can do that. The president can pardon himself. That's insane.
Yeah, don't even get me started, man. But to me, it's just what is the point? You know what I mean? What is the point? That's what I am saying. What is the point? To me, you're almost. It's almost like theatrics at this point. If you just the 25th Amendment, the 25th Amendment or the whole impeachment proceeding. It's like, what's the point? He's going to be out of office in 2 weeks, and then you're going to be free to persecute this motherfucker however which way you seem fit if he doesn't pardon himself after he's out of office. So to me, just focus your efforts on that than 2 weeks bogging yourself down on political hand-wringing and arm twisting and all that. And even with that, even if let's say they impeached him, I still think the Senate doesn't impeach him. I still believe that.
Man, it wouldn't surprise me. I can't lie.
Gun to your head right now, and I know that's a poor phrase in the time that we live in right now, but gun to your head right now, do you still think the Senate will impeach him? Will convict him, I should say.
So you have what's the Senate right now? It's like 53.
This is before Ossoff and so I don't even know. I know they have.
You got Romney. Romney would.
Romney. I don't think Lindsey Graham would.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Gun to my head, I'd say no, just because I think the Republicans are very tight knit, and I think they stay on message, they stay on brand.
On brand, man. And plus, the other thing and this is where we first started with the conversation is, because you said like, how does the Republican go from here? Like, I think they have. The problem with the Republican Party is the majority of the establishment Republicans are center right, for the most part, give or take. But the base is far right. Yeah. So in order to win, they gotta you gotta go far right. So the era of the normie Republicans, the Bush Republicans, the country club Republicans, that shit is over.
And you still think those Bush Republicans vote for the far right candidate going forward?
Yes, because at the end of the day, they still win. They still get their judges. They still get their tax cuts. They're not stupid. Like these never Trumpers. What is it? Like the Lincoln Project? That was like a group of like 50 people. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like Republicans still look at the exit polls. All the work, all the billions of dollars these dudes grifted off the Democratic Party, and what happened? Republicans, 85% of Republicans still voted for Trump. Like I think it was 90. Yeah, I think it was 90. Look
Republican. I'm looking up Republican approval rating for Trump. It's historic. I know that. He's the most popular fucking Republican.
Exactly. President. I think he's approaching like Reagan numbers. That's what I'm saying. Like you could sit there and say, like, we could both be normie Republicans, right? And we could be like, oh my God, what he does is appalls me, but he's also going to give me a conservative judge. Oh, yeah.
You look too deep into that though. Like he's going to get me a conservative judge.
This is why I say Republicans are better at politics.
Oh, I knew that. 1,000%.
Because they understand. They understand the levers of power. They understand how power fucking works. Like we get caught up in philosophical arguments. These motherfuckers know what power is. They're like, yeah, you can have your philosophical, debates. This motherfucker is going to put a judge in. I can't stand this motherfucker, but he's going to put a conservative judge and swing the Supreme Court for the next 30 years. They understand that shit. They understand that, like you think Lindsey Graham secretly likes Trump? No, he doesn't. But he understands Trump got his donors a tax cut.
So Donald Trump job approval by party identification. Republicans, the last poll by Gallup had him at 87%.
Think about that.
Before that, 90, 95, 94, 94.
Think about that. Think that answers your question right there.
Fucking wild, man.
You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm not even trying to be overly cynical, bro. It's like, you got to understand how this shit works, bro. Like these dudes, they work off of what's popular and what's politically expedient. They understand that the base still loves this shit. They understand it. And to me, what I'm most afraid of is I'm afraid of the next Trump, because the next Trump is going to be more sophisticated. He's going to be smarter. He's going to be even more tech savvy. You know what I mean? He's just going to be better.
He's going to be Tucker Carlson.
Yeah. Think about it. I mean, God forbid, right? But I mean, like, this is what people don't like. I'm not worried about the current Trump. I'm worried about the future Trump, who takes that mantle of MAGA and goes beyond, right? That's what I'm worried about. I think the Republican Party has, I say soul searching, but they really don't, because they know what they're going to do. They're going to wait. They're going to wait till this shit simmers down, and they'll wait. They'll put in Biden in the first couple weeks. They'll play nice for the most part. They'll give him a chance for they'll play nice.
I don't even think they'll play nice, to be honest with you. I think
they won't play nice. They won't play nice in that regard. I mean, like, they'll try to temper the animosity between the parties and stuff like that for a little bit of time. I give it a month or so, but by Easter, Oh, that's going to be full guns blazing again. And it's going to be like, again, setting up, 2024 and the talking points and the narratives and all that. You know what I mean? So I just think you have to understand how this shit works, man. And for folks that are doubting me, I'm willing to bet you, watch. This shit will calm down. This shit. And plus, and I'm dying to get your thoughts on the whole ban on social media thing for him, because I think we're going to disagree on where we stand.
I think we are too, yeah.
I think that, I just think you have to understand where this shit is and understand how this political game. And I'm not saying I'm no expert. I mean, I'm just repeating what I've read and listened. I just think you have to understand, man. I think
I get it. And the thing is also like, I can't wrap my head around how a moderate, not racist, truly conservative person still goes to a voting booth and votes for Donald Trump in 2020. Like, why would that change in 2024?
76 million people were willing to vote for Donald Trump. You mean to tell me that if Josh Hawley comes out in 2024,
they're going to say no to him, right?
The same talking points, he's not going to get support?
No, you're right.
I just don't think that. I don't think that in the world we live in now, maybe in 20 years it's something different. Who knows? But in the world we live now, I don't think a guy like Mitt Romney can win. He's not going to win. But
that shows you just how bad the Democratic Party is too, right? I mean, how bad of a party do you have to be where you cannot pull people over from that side?
We would have lost Georgia had it not been that the Republicans fucked themselves because of the whole $2,000 checks, right? Yeah. But the Republicans are not stupid, because the Republicans, they understand it's better to be the party outside of power than the party in power. And now the Democrats are going to learn that shit. Mitch McConnell, he'd rather be the Senate minority leader than the majority leader.
I don't know about that. Man. He did a lot of fucking damage with the majority.
But even as a minority leader, though, he can play his role well because he can be the foil to everything. Not that he couldn't have been a foil before, but he can really play his role well because Democrats now, watch, now that they have full control of the Senate, they're basically totally in power, right? They have no excuse now. You have no excuse now.
Right.
We should see monthly $2,000 checks.
Period.
We should see Medicare for all. I know we disagree. We should see Medicare for all go for a vote on the floor.
Eventually, yes, I do agree with that. I don't want you to think I disagree with that. I just don't think right now, immediately, is something we should do.
So then when is the time?
I think when we get larger support, when we have more vocal support within the Democrats in the House and in the Senate, where we can bring up a vote and it could be at least close. I think you and I disagree in the sense that you think it's going to be closer than I think, and I think it's going to be a referendum on Medicare for all when it doesn't pass and gets its ass kicked.
See, I think it's important to get it to a vote now from a political standpoint. Not even that. I think it's from a political strategy standpoint because now you have a name and a vote, and you know who voted for it, and you know who didn't. So it's like if I'm someone on the left, right, and Medicare for all goes to a vote on the floor. Obviously, we know who's going to vote for it, more than likely, right?
Right.
But I know who didn't vote for it, and now I can primary against your ass. I can run ads against your ass. I can hold you accountable. But now I can only just assume that someone like Phil Murphy doesn't support Medicare for all. But now you have a vote assigned to it. Now,
right. It's like concrete. You can't go against
exactly. It. Right.
But I think we already know who supports it and who doesn't, right? I mean, if you support it, you pretty much say you do. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, you know how politics works, right? People can.
I get it.
People can say one thing and do another, but your vote is what matters. Like
I get it, and I understand the purest argument of it all. I just take, for instance, we had a discussion beforehand about the squad, and to me, if the squad is feeling like we shouldn't do this right now, I trust the fact that they're being pragmatic in their approach. I think you and I both agree that the AOCs and Ilhan Omar's and the Rashida Tlaibs of the world, they do want Medicare for all. I think that a lot of people who are attacking them right now need to freaking fall back a little bit. Yes, maybe you want to vote right now and you do want to see that brought up to the floor, but there are different ways to go about it. I just think they're trying to be a little more pragmatic. Now, whether you agree that it's pragmatic or not, that's a discussion to be had. But we know they want it. Let's get more people on board so that when we bring it to the floor, it has a better chance of passing.
Problem is, and especially from the left, pragmatism is viewed as a centrist tool. That's the problem. Yeah. Pragmatism is seen as a Hillary Clinton trait. Like, oh, let's just be pragmatic. Let's.
Yeah,
it's like you're constantly punting. Like, oh, let's punt this possession. Let's punt. Well, and
we're only being pragmatic in the sense that the Democratic Party is so centrist and so moderate that we have no other choice because we don't have the numbers right now. Do you get what I'm saying? Like the way the Democrats are more the Democratic Party is more pragmatic in the sense they cater to Republicans. Like,
right. But even this is but even this is kind of viewed as you're catering to Republicans in a way because you're catering to your more kind of conservative Democrats in the House and in the Senate.
Okay.
Like my thing is just like, okay, you say you delay the vote on it and you wait for a better time. Sometimes like I use the punting analogy. You're going to punt. Eventually you're going to run out of fucking possessions. Like eventually you're going to have to go for it on 4th and 7. Eventually, right? Yeah. And to me, I just don't want to be in a situation where you're running out of opportunities to actually bring this to a vote. To actually, like, when is it like?
When do we run out of opportunities, though?
I don't know. Honestly, bro, like everything is on, like everything that we assumed wasn't going to happen and could have happened has happened. Like 2020 has done that to me where I think like everything is on the table right now. Like, I think that you just have to like, I think there's room for pragmatism in certain areas and certain things in life. Of course, I'm not sitting here saying that pragmatism in no aspect of life isn't important. And even from a just political standpoint, I understand pragmatism. I just think that you have to understand that there are times where you just have to live in that moment and you have to take advantage of the moment that you're in. To me, in a national pandemic, and I'm not saying, when I say bring it to a vote, I'm not saying bring it to a vote now or tomorrow or this week.
Some people are. People are saying
I understand.
Right
I get that. I'm not even saying I'm not even going to go that far, but 6 months?
Yeah.
A year from now?
Yes. But see, then you and I are saying the same thing. Okay. I'm talking as if like, let's do it right now. Like, no, we can't do it. There's no way we can do it right now.
See, I would do it right now because I want to know who has a vote on it and who doesn't, right? From a concrete evidence standpoint, I want it now. But even just from a practicality standpoint, let's just say in a year, right?
Yeah. See, it has to be before the midterms, very least.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Like a year from now, that means Biden's been in office now for a year.
Yes.
You're still in the majority. There's no excuse why Medicare for all should not be on the floor for a vote.
Yeah.
None.
I can get with that. See, my misconception was that I thought you were calling for it like now, like today.
No, like ideally, yes. Me personally, like, yes, I want it to go on a vote tomorrow. I know it's not going to pass. I know that. I think it's a lot closer than what you think it is, but I know it's not going to pass.
Yeah.
But I think from a political, I'm kind of in the middle in the sense that I see the pros and the cons of having a vote now as opposed to waiting. Now, I think that we as leftists, we assume when Democrats and even the squad to a point tell us wait, they're telling us wait like 3 years. No, I don't want to wait 3 years. Like, who the fuck knows what's going to happen in 3 years? Like, hell,
6 to 12 months.
We could be in COVID part 3. Like at that point, like, we'd be so far gone on this shit. Like, and I think the thing that presses a lot of people, especially with the Medicare for all thing, and I'm included, is like, we're in a fucking global pandemic.
Yes,
if we're ever going to get some sort of Medicare for all, hell, even a public option,
right,
it's now.
See, and I think once Joe Biden's inaugurated, this is when you have your progressive movement on the left saying, "Hey, we have the House, we have the Senate," and it's gonna be it's gonna take months. Cory Bush and AOC and Bowman, they're all gonna have to get out there and sell to the public why we should have Medicare for all, so that it's an issue that everybody's aware of, so that when we do have the vote, and even if it doesn't win or go through, then the general public on both sides of the aisle understand what it is and who voted against it. I still feel like, for the most part, especially on the right, that a lot of people just do not understand what the Medicare for all is. People on the right hear socialism and then forget it. They don't even want to listen to it. Whereas on the left, I think the problem that we have is that a lot of people like the public option. And we have a president who ran not on Medicare for all, but on that, and he won. So that tells me, hey, maybe there aren't as many progressives as we think, and maybe we still are a little more behind than we. I don't
see the thing. That's what gets me mad, because this idea that like, oh, Biden won, so there's a referendum on the things that Biden believes. No,
but there has to be some sort of.
I don't think so. I think Biden won specifically because he wasn't Trump. Like,
no. I just mean the Democratic primary. I mean, you had Bernie Sanders running on Medicare for all. You had Elizabeth Warren, who, I mean, she was back and forth on it, but like she was attached to that as well. And Biden won the primary based off of moderate beliefs.
Biden won the primary, though, because, again, a lot of like the normie Democrats were convinced that you just have to defeat Trump. Like, Trump is an existential threat. Again, we can agree that obviously with the results of this week, it's kind of hard to argue against. But whatever. That being said, you know, Trump was the biggest. Like, you have to and again, what was the biggest thing we heard in the primaries, right? Electability. Yeah, Bernie, you know, we're with him on the policies. We're with him. Yay. Yeah, we're with you out 100%. But is he electable? Is he electable? Is he someone that you could see on the debate stage with Trump? Is he someone that you could see, you know, going into Indiana and winning? Like, you know. Like,
you think Bernie wins this election?
Yes, I do. Okay. I think if everything plays out the same, I think Bernie wins. Okay. I think that I mean, of course, it's easy to say that. Obviously, I have no evidence. I think Bernie wins. I think Bernie would have won last time if he was a nominee.
I think Bernie would have absolutely won.
I think Bernie would have won because, you know, the thing that and this is why I always say this, because Bernie has crossover appeal with Republicans. That's what people don't tell you. It's like he has a lot of crossover appeal with a lot of Trump's base. So I think he pulls from Trump's base.
I agree.
You know, if Trump gets 76 million, you know, Bernie gets, you know, 6-7 million out of that. Yeah. You know, that's a number. You know what I mean? That's a significant chunk right there. And
your moderate Democrats are not going to vote for Trump, so they're going to vote for Bernie regardless.
Right. I think Bernie still wins. I'm willing to argue that Bernie wins by a bigger margin. Okay. Because I don't think you had that like angst that some folks have with Biden, or that just like that, like, oh, Biden's.
I think I'm very jaded by his performance in the primary. You know, I'm jaded to the fact that, I mean, and listen, I know a lot of things went wrong in Iowa, but I'm jaded by the fact that it was even that close to Buttigieg. No, there's just a lot of things where I thought Bernie had more support, and I link things like Medicare for all, especially Medicare for all, with Bernie. You know, how you feel largely about Medicare for all dictates who you're pretty much backing. If you were a huge proponent of Medicare for all, you back Bernie, period. I mean, that's what it was. Yeah. So to see him kind of, in my mind, underperform in the primaries kind of made me believe that, hey, listen, I don't know if Medicare for all is as popular across the whole country. I think it's popular in certain areas. Like, I think in like the bigger cities like New York City, Los Angeles, things like that, I think it is. But I think if you go to your like Nebraskas and Iowas,
but if you look at the exit polling, though, Medicare for all in the election was like at 70%. I believe. I'm not certain about that, but it's popular.
It's popular, but I also think that the way they ask the question like means something too, where it's like, do you want government run healthcare, but like things like that. So I don't know how they're asking that question. I don't get me wrong. I think if it's explained properly, and you said this earlier, if it's explained properly to everyone in America, I think people on both sides are like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's have that. You know what I mean?
Do you think, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but do you think Bernie lost the election or lost the primary because of Medicare for all, or do you think? See, to me, I think Obama put his thumb on a scale, like literally after South Carolina, Buttigieg.
Oh yeah, they it was the Avengers.
That's what swung the primary.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I agree. If that doesn't happen after South Carolina, I think Bernie's a nominee without question. I will go to my grave believing that.
Yeah, he had it. He had it in the bag. He had it, and they all. I don't know what happened. Obama called everybody. Everyone resigned.
He pulled the boss move. Like Obama pulled the big dick move. Like, yo, this is happening. You know, we're gonna rearrange the deck. Yeah, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna make some phone calls here. He pulled the fucking gangster move. Like, that's what it is. And respect to him. You know, he did what he had to do, I guess, for his brand or belief or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
But I think that's what swung the primary more so than Medicare for all. And
I agree. I agree.
And I don't think that Medicare for all was an indictment on Bernie. I think that I think that's what swung the primary more. But don't want to get too bogged down in that. So what are your feelings on the whole media ban for Trump? Social media ban for Trump. Where do you stand on it?
I tweeted too little too late, man. I think this happened a long time ago. Listen, Twitter's a private. I understand the concerns with it, and I think this is where you're going to go with it. But for me, you know, you are somebody. It's a private company. It has nothing to do with your First Amendment rights. And if you were eliciting violence or inciting violence, like he was, I think a private company like Twitter or a platform has the right to kick you off their platform. Period. It's not like he's giving like these weird opinions or, you know, these non-PC opinions or unpopular opinions. Like, no, this man is literally eliciting a coup. Like, this is the most serious thing you could do against the federal government. And I think it's perfectly reasonable for a company to be like, okay, yeah, this is enough. We're taking you off. I think it's a little too late.
I would be willing to be with you if I felt like, if I trusted social media companies and I trusted multinational corporations to be conservative in their use of this. I don't.
So you think they're going to start overreaching?
I think with anything, there's potential to overreach. And I think that once you start, and look, I'm not questioning, again, Trump did what he did. There's no debate about it. I'm not defending Trump. I'm not. But to me, this is a very slippery slope and a Pandora's box that you're now engaging in and opening and willing to go down. And because now, yeah, we're all gung-ho and happy it's Trump. But what happens when it's a leftist that's maybe saying some things that is not...
If it's a leftist that's inciting...
No, I'm not saying inciting violence. And look, I don't want to go there. Like, obviously, look, inciting... I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that, like, now they've done this. Now Twitter, Facebook, these companies have shown that they are willing to do this now.
It's a precedent.
They're willing to go there. That's a precedent. We talked about precedents early. Like, now that's a precedent that sticks. Like, now when you wield that, that's like a nuclear code in some regards, right? Like,
but how high was that bar though? Do you get what I'm saying? It's not that they banned him for just saying a curse word. That bar, he had to literally incite
the first time you do it, right? Like, the first time you do it is always going to take a lot to get to that point, right? But now,
don't you figure they have to reach that bar again? Like,
no,
you're afraid they're going to lower. Like, you're afraid they're going to lower that bar.
I view this as the Patriot Act, right? Like, 9/11 was the ultimate, like, oh my God, like, we have to sanction federal surveillance on our people. And once you open that box of like, okay, we had a catastrophic event, a terrorist attack on American soil happen. And this is like, and I think that all of us at the time, I was 14 at the time, so obviously I didn't have a vote or a say. But, you know, at the time, I think most people said, yeah, it's a necessary evil. Look what that brought. Look what that what has happened now with the Patriot Act and surveillance and all the overreach from a government perspective on our privacy. What has that done now? Like, once you go down that slippery slope, once you open that Pandora's box, like, it's hard to now like say, oh yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. Or, oh, now it's hard to say like, oh, now we're not going to justify doing this. And again, but
you're talking about the federal government. Twitter's a private company.
But even Twitter bans people for stupider shit. Like, to say that like they've never kicked anybody off their platform or never, it's false. Like, they've done this shit before. Like, I tweet something, like, I think I said something, like, I got suspended off Twitter for like 2 weeks for telling somebody go kill yourself. Like, in a joke, like, oh, go kill yourself. That was like a stupid take. Like, even that, like, so like, if they can't suspend, like, so let's not act like this is something that they've never done or aren't willing to do. Right. Okay. So my thing is like, what happens when we have our version of Trump? Again, not the whole inciting violence and racism stuff, but like, you may be saying some shit that might challenge social media companies or might challenge some corporations and their views on stuff. You know, how much easier is it? And I'm not even saying like, oh, just, you know, deplatforming somebody, but maybe changing the algorithm so you don't see these things as much, or you don't see this person's tweets, or see these people's impact on stuff. To me, it's just a slippery slope, and I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that overreach, man. I'm just not.
I get it, but you have to realize that for 4 years, Trump was talking shit about Twitter and social media.
But the problem is, and the other thing about it is, like, I just can't take the hypocrisy of it all. Like, networks now are saying they don't want to show Trump when all of these networks were complicit in the rise of Trump. Like, MSNBC has the gall to sit here and call for Trump to be deplatformed or Trump to not air.
They all bandwagon. It just takes one thing to bandwagon.
But it's like, this is the thing, right? Like, people say I'm overly cynical, but it's like, I don't like bullshit. Don't bullshit me. Like, I know the game. Like, Trump is a ratings bonanza.
Right.
He just is. He's helped these networks. Like, cable news was dying 4 years ago.
Yeah, they love him.
Dying. They loved him.
They love him.
And cable news, watch, now that he's out of office and now it's back to Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
And normal politics,
they'll be talking about Trump.
They'll fabricate stories to talk about Trump.
Trump is that asshole in high school that all the girls, and by girls I mean like media companies, like hate, talk shit about him, but at the end of the day they have the biggest crush on him.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
The fact that CNN and all these companies, they had no problem. They contributed to his rise. They are just as much culpable as Facebook and Twitter and Fox News. They all have blood on their hands. They all have blood on their hands because they contributed. Sure, I don't think they ever saw this happening, but they helped. They had no problem showing his rallies because, again, they were ratings bonanzas, covering him 24/7. Like the effect that Trump has had on news. Like I've read this article a couple weeks ago. Like these networks are literally fearing what a post-Trump presidency looks like from a rating standpoint. Like late night TV has had a resurgence because all they do, like literally Trump jokes write themselves. Like literally, just they write themselves. Like now, what the fuck is a James Corden going to talk about now that Trump's out of office? What jokes can he make? I mean, of course, there's jokes to be made, but like it's not the same. So like, here's the thing. Like I feel like it's really rich for these companies to now all of a sudden say we're going to deplatform this guy when all of you have contributed to what happened on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It's too little, too late. That's like I'm not happy that they did. I'm not jumping for joy.
No, there's a lot of people that are jumping for
Yeah. I'm not one of those.
Like,
I'm not one of those people. Like, I'm one of those people that was like, oh, now you want to fucking do it? Okay, fine. But I also think that in the sense in which they did it, it had to be after he's been inciting riots and a coup of the freaking U.S. Capitol.
Right.
So for me, that bar is so freaking high that I'm not worried about, random leftist politician in 2024 who wants to decide to challenge this media of getting banned himself, because Trump, before even all of that, was doing shit that he could have gotten banned for before.
Right.
I just think, I think a lot of it has to do with that. He's not the president anymore. The coup happened. He's going to be out of office. It's almost like, okay, now it's over. We can do what we always wanted to do. I understand the slippery slope argument. I think your fears are valid. I'm just not as scared because I feel like that the president that they sent, that they set is so freaking high that I can't see them doing that to another politician unless they incite another riot or another coup or continuously do so. Now, I do know that they ban other people, like what you just said. You got banned for that, or suspended, which is crazy. I know a bunch of like Twitch people with content that they have or tweets that they have gotten banned, but that's nothing new with Twitter. Twitter's a private company, man. They're allowed to do that. You know what I mean?
No,
it's so
I get it.
And it's okay. And I don't put you in this company, so I'm not talking about you with this, but it's so hilarious to me that Republicans and conservatives are so about privatization and the free market, but when it comes and bites them in the ass, they're the first ones to cry and complain about it. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it is. This is the free market working. This is private companies, like everything you guys want to be, and now you're being thrown off of it, and you want to claim, oh, this is Orwellian, 1984. Go fuck yourselves. This is exactly what you want to live in.
No, yeah. So. I know. No, I look, your lips to God's ears, man. I hope you're right. Like, I hope that this is.
I understand your concerns, though. I don't want to brush off.
I just want people to actually look at this and say, like, yo, this.
It could lead to something.
This is a thing. Like, this could lead to something, and that's what I don't want it to be.
But it's a private company, though. It's not like you're getting arrested for anything.
But
it's not like
social media companies wield a lot of power, especially for like. I don't think it's gonna. And that's the other thing. Like, do you think that Trump can't still get out his message even after he's out of office? Like, he's probably gonna buy Newsmax or one of these other fucking organizations and basically start Trump TV. So that right there, Fox News is still gonna cover him. And look, CNN and MSNBC, they're fucking applauding and giving kudos. I give you 6 weeks without Trump. Like, let's say Trump, they don't talk about Trump for 6 weeks and the ratings fucking plateau. I guarantee you they'll start covering Trump going to Starbucks to get a coffee by Easter. I guarantee you. You know I'm right. You work for a major media company. You know I'm right. Like, they're gonna find any reason to cover this. So they could say all that shit now. First of all, Trump's still gonna go out and get his message. Like, the idea that Trump is already this major political. I mean, obviously he's had the presidency, he's known, but like a Josh Rodriguez, a leftist politician who's trying to primary Nancy Pelosi and has got some really strong views on her record on war and her record on healthcare.
I don't think he doesn't get banned. I don't think he gets banned.
Facebook might and he may not get banned. He may not be. But Josh Rodriguez, this example that we're using, the algorithms may change and maybe other left leaning voters or potential voters may not see his tweets.
Well, that's something that's always been a problem, though.
It's always
that's a totally different problem.
But the problem is that now Twitter and Facebook could. Before they could say, well, we're not political, we're apolitical, we're not putting our. Now they have cemented and planted their flag and saying, hey, we can put our fingers on the scale if we want to and if need be. Obviously, inciting a riot.
Is it politics at this point?
Absolutely politics. It's absolutely politics.
I don't know. I get what you're saying.
There's an element of politics.
There's an element of it, but I also think it's more of a. This is like humanity. Like this is the angle in which this man has literally incited something that is going to go down in history as one of the darkest days in America. Like this isn't. I get the fact it's inherently political because he's the president of the United States of America, but I don't think it's taking a political stance. I think it's taking a stance of human decency.
Yes, but even human decency can also mean a political stance. You know, it's like, I mean,
that's our whole thing.
Like, it's interconnected though. That's what I'm saying. Like you can't, I hate when people try to be like, oh, no. This is no, like politics and just basic everyday human life are interconnected in a lot of ways. So you may not think so, and you may not want to be that way, but it is. Like once you put your finger on the scale and said, hey, we have enough power to deplatform somebody. And again, these are not like small things. Like Twitter has 90 million people on Twitter.
No, it's a huge platform.
You know, Facebook has 150 million people. Like
you can argue without Twitter, Trump does not become president. You can make that.
Yes, you can make that argument, right? Like without social media, without YouTube, without Twitter, we don't see an AOC. We don't see a Jamal Bowman. We don't see a left. Same thing on the right. You know what I mean? Like, so like we cannot pretend like this isn't a big thing. Like this is a major thing.
Well, it is a major thing. It's just how big is it major in the sense that, hey, the president got kicked off of a social media platform, or is it major in the sense of, hey, the president got kicked off the social media platform? That means we could be next. And I'm not sure I'm willing to take it there yet. I'm not.
And look, Josh, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
I understand your concerns. I'm not trying to wishy-wash your concerns away. I do understand your concerns. I don't see Twitter ever going to that extent where it's just kind of like, oh, I have voiced my opinion on whatever next war we're getting into the Middle East, and now I can't have a Twitter account.
I hope so, man. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to be right on this. I just said I'm just saying
we'll revisit this conversation.
Yeah, we'll revisit this shit in 5 years and we'll see where we're at. I just again, and we'll end on this. Like I just, for everybody that's celebrating, yes. And look, I am not defending Trump. Trump is a piece of shit for what he did and that the freaking video at 5:00. I mean, it's just, I literally just lost my shit because he's and what he did to Mike Pence. I mean, a dude that has been so fucking loyal. Look, like I get it. Mike Pence is a jackass, but the literally like Mike Pence's life was in danger. and from the reports that you read and hear, he's basically like cheering it on. Like it's just like, yeah, kill Mike Pence and his wife, like, all because he wouldn't eradicate election results. Constitutionally, he has no right to do anyway, which is another.
But that's something like, do you see the lengths that he had to go to in order to be banned from Twitter? Like, that's
I know, man. I know. I'm just saying that I don't know. To me, it's just it's about precedent, and it's like they've already set the precedent, and now it's like it.
You rather there be no precedent, then? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yes.
What do you think about how the Capitol Police handled the coup? And do you think that they were underprepared, or do you think they were underprepared on purpose? I
think they were underprepared. I'm not gonna go as far as say on purpose, but regardless, they were underprepared, and there's just no justifying it. Like a lot of people should lose their jobs. A lot of people, and that mayor should be on a hot seat. Like, how the fuck does that happen? How the fuck do regular Joe? How the fuck does Duck Dynasty literally walk into the fucking Capitol building and?
Well, you saw like cops letting him in. I mean that
exactly. So exactly. I don't think it was on. Like I don't want to sit here and create a conspiracy. Sure, what?
They opened a gate, man. They opened the gate and they opened the gate. There's a video of a congressman letting him in the back door. You have cops taking selfies with some of these guys. Like,
I saw the cops taking selfies with them. I think it wasn't on purpose in the sense, like, I don't think these cops thought that this was going to break out into that. Like, I think initially, like, they're trying. I don't know. look, do I think that? Listen, I'm never going to give these cops. A lot of these cops have wackadoo beliefs. Just because they're cops and they put on a badge, you don't think they're not conservative or they're not.
Most of them are conservative.
Like a lot of them are conservative. Like
most of them.
Like being in the
I would go far.
Yeah, a large. Like being in the military. Like in the military, the majority of soldiers in the military are conservative. I would say 70% of them. Right. Yeah. Like just offhand. Right. So, yeah. Does that mean that they would allow this to happen? No, I'm not saying that. But would I say, like, I think some would. And some did. And some did. Now, what's that number on the pie chart? You want to say out of like 100 Capitol police officers that day, 80 of them let protesters into the building? No, I'm not going to go that far.
Okay.
I think there was a small number of them and they all should be held accountable, and they should all lose their fucking job and probably face prosecution if that was the case. You know what I mean? I think, to me, I think this just speaks on, and I know, there's white people that were getting annoyed with me, but I think it just highlights the further discrimination and discrepancies on how black people are treated and people of color are treated compared to white people. I mean, this is like there's just no way you can tell me that that's Black Lives Matter trying to storm the Capitol building, that we don't have a massacre. And thank God, by the way, that
but also happen. You can't convince me that if that's Black Lives Matter, there's not more cops there.
Oh, absolutely.
The National Guard's
absolutely
not there. They're more prepared.
So yeah, okay, I take it back then. I think that it was on purpose, but I don't think it was on purpose for what people may think from a conspiratorial standpoint. I think it was done on purpose because they felt like it was a bunch of right-wing nuts, like a bunch of Duck Dynasty motherfuckers that they never probably expected to break into the Capitol and potentially cause some shit. Like, I don't think they expected that. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think they expected that.
I think they did. I will fully admit that it probably is a little conspiratorial, but I think that just taking context clues with how Trump has been talking about the election being stolen, how they riled up that base, how there was a rally, them going to that building, and then you mix that with the fact you lighten security. I think that's just a disaster waiting to happen. I think that and what's also, this is a huge thing to take into consideration. A lot of these people are Second Amendment like nuts. They are.
Yeah.
So you don't be having weapons. Like this is a group of people that, regardless if you align with them politically, if you're going to have people bringing weapons to these things, you need to be, as a police department, you need to be more armed. You need to be able to handle just in case some things go wrong. Your job as a department is to outnumber whoever you are against just in case things go wrong. You can't make the assumption that they're going to storm the Capitol. I understand that might be a little bit too much, but when they did that things with Black Lives Matter, I mean, it was like 4 times as much as security as it was before. Then on top of that, you have congressmen going through the back door, letting these people in. You have police, Capitol Police removing gates, waving people to come in. Yeah. I mean, to me, it seems like in some aspect, I'm not saying every single Capitol Police officer that was there was in on it, but I think that it was some sort of inside job in the sense where it's like, we're not going to put too much security. And I think that a lot of Capitol Police made a decision that, hey, I politically align with these people. I think this election was stolen. And if they want to go inside the Capitol, fucking go inside the Capitol. I don't care. That's what I think.
Not the first time I've heard that theory. A lot of people have shared that with me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
And this comes from my distrust of police. This comes from my distrust.
Oh, look,
and this comes from the simple fact that, listen, we just said it. Let's be honest. Police and military in this country are right wing. Period. They are. And it comes in different forms. You could be right wing. And I know for a fact there was probably some officer there who was right wing, but was doing his job and was like, you know what?
Right.
I might agree with this, but this is my job to protect this house, and I'm gonna let it happen.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that there were other ones who let them in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, and to me, having that little of police there was just on purpose, and it was asking for disaster. Period. I think they knew exactly what was going to happen. You cannot tell me that you expect the president to rile up his base like this. And on top of that, these things were on right-wing social media websites saying
for weeks.
This is what we're going to do.
Right.
You're going to tell me that the intelligence community didn't know this? You didn't know that this was going to happen? You didn't know that this was an actual possibility? Even if you didn't think they were going to go through with the threats, the fact that the threats were there, the fact that the plans were there, you need more and better security. And they just didn't come through with that. And that was done on purpose. I don't care what anybody says. No, again, I will fall back and say that is a theory. I'm not saying it's a fact. All right. I will admit when it's a theory. I'm not going to come out and be like all conspiratorial and like this is. But when you put 2 and 2 together, man, none of this makes sense. None of it makes sense.
No, bro. I mean, honestly, like I just don't want to believe it, because that to me scares me more than anything else. The fact that this could have been an inside job. The fact that the police had a hand in this, maybe the military had a hand in this. And I
don't think every single one of the Capitol Police had a hand in it. I don't think the whole department was in on it. But I do think that
select folks, bad actors, bad agents.
You send out, you say, okay, we don't need the National Guard. We don't need this many Capitol Police officers. We'll have Capitol Police officers because it looks good. And then those Capitol Police officers did what they did individually. I don't think any Capitol Police officer talked to anyone in higher power who was like, oh, we need you to let them in. I don't think that's what happened. But I do think a lot of police officers made the conscious decision to let them in because, hey, I agree with this shit. I'm a fucking Trump supporter. I think the election was stolen. Let's let them in. And I think one of the biggest lies we tell each other, or one of the biggest lies this country tells themselves, is that the FBI, Secret Service, cops, military, that they're all apolitical and they'll do whatever it takes to protect the country first. That is fucking bullshit. It is bullshit. And I know it's an unpopular thing to say, but it's fucking bullshit.
I'm with you, man.
They have political leanings and they're not apolitical. And I think right there,
they're people. Like,
they're human beings. They're human beings.
Yeah. So they're not above mistakes. They're not above taking things too far. They're not above, any of this shit. So
and shout out and also shout out to the Capitol Police who actually did their jobs and tried their best, because there were. I saw videos of them pushing back and doing what they. I'm not saying that every single Capitol Police officer was there. Like, that's not what happened. But there were some that did. And there were not many reinforcements, and not having that many reinforcements, that was done on purpose. I'm sorry.
Like, how do you? It's just a failure on all levels. And how does this happen? Like, how does that happen?
This wasn't a surprise rally. This wasn't
a surprise rally. And to me, that mayor needs to face some scrutiny.
We have an intelligence community that is made to prevent things like this from happening. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They knew this is on Parler. This is on different far right-wing websites. You know this was going to happen. We already know right now they're planning shit for the 19th and 20th. We know this already.
Yeah.
We know this. This is not a secret. It's not a secret. So they should have been prepared. And they were woefully unprepared. And you can't tell me that wasn't done on purpose, because this is the fucking United States of America. And when we feel like we need to protect something, we fucking protect something. We have the largest military budget in the fucking world.
$750 billion. Yeah, $750 billion, man.
You can't. I'm saying it's a theory. I want to put it out there. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm putting 2 and 2 to fucking together, and that's what I'm deciding to believe.
No, man, I can't even say you're wrong. Like, you
don't want to believe it. That's what it is. Because if you believe it, then you have to accept some certain truths about certain things. And
it's not even that. You're not the first person that's brought that to my attention, and I've been like, huh. And then I've seen the videos. I haven't seen all of the stuff, like the congressman letting somebody in the back door. I haven't seen that, for respect to that. But I did see, the police officers with the selfies. I did see a lot of different videos, and it's sickening, man. It's sickening. I have no words for it. It's just, I'm choosing to believe that it was. Do I think that some things were done on purpose? Yes. Do I think some things were done on purpose? I don't know how far I'm willing to go as far as, again, where are we going to put that on the pie chart? 100 Capitol Police, 70 of them did it. No, I'm not saying you are either. I'm not saying you are either.
I want to clear it up. I want to clear my statement up, just because I know if people listen to this, like, oh, he hates cops. He thinks, no, I honestly don't even think it's the majority of the Capitol Police that did that. I don't. I think most of them actually tried to do their job regardless of their political backgrounds. I do think they were Trump supporters in the Capitol Police, on the front line, trying their best not to let people in the Capitol. I do. I absolutely 1,000% believe that. But it only takes about 10 people, 15 people.
It only takes 15 people to actually, make some shit like this happen. Right. I think I'm willing to focus more on, this was a failure of a leadership on a leadership level. Like, why did it take the National Guard so long to get there?
They didn't have them get there. That's the problem. They restricted them from getting there.
Well, yeah,
they didn't call on them to get there. They asked to bring it over, and they said no.
Right. That's that. Where was the FBI? Where was, the Secret Service? Like, where were any of these government agencies? Like, the fact that you knew.
If Black Lives Matter absolutely voiced that, said, hey, on this day, we are doing this and then doing this, not only would there have been Capitol Police, there would have been FBI, there would have been the National Guard, and there would have been snipers on every fucking roof in Washington, D.C.
DC has DC Police, and there's also Capitol Police, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, where was the hell? What was even the DC Police? Yeah. I can't say anything to you, man. What can I say to you?
Yeah, and you can't tell me you didn't think they were going to be violent. That's the thing. It's like, well, we didn't know they were going to be violent. Really? Have you been reading right-wing websites? Have you been reading these presidents' tweets? They're complaining about an election they think is stolen. Like, what do you think they're going to do?
I think it's more. I think it plays more to. I think they fear black men and black people and people of color in general than they fear white people. 100%. I think they felt that, this is just going to be like 10,000 angry white people who are going to yell and scream and kick and shout, but eventually they're going to. And I'm not decertifying what you're saying. I'm not delegitimizing what you're saying. I'm just saying that that's what I think a lot of them felt. I think from a leadership perspective, I think they probably felt, and that in itself is wrong, because if you didn't take that seriously enough, if you didn't understand, if you weren't able to read the moment and read the room, then that in itself is a failure. But I just think that that just speaks to they are afraid of brown people with a cause. I'll just put it that way.
1,000%. 1,000%.
You can't even argue it. I mean, you can't even argue it.
It's so obvious. Like, this is not even like. I'm not saying my theory is. I'm saying that the disposition between what would have happened if it was a BLM protest is so fucking obvious. And it's okay. Listen, my fellow conservative friends, it's okay for you to admit that. You can still be conservative. You can still be conservative. Be conservative.
Oh, that's not on brand, though, man.
But it's okay.
That's not on brand. That's not on brand.
That black people would have been different. It's okay. It's okay. You can go back to being conservative and wanting lower taxes, and you can do that, and deregulation. That's fine. But let's have an honest conversation here about race. Because if I can't have an honest conversation with race about you, I don't believe you live on the same fucking planet. Just admit it. It's okay.
Because again, they won't admit it, because then that would actually take them to, because they know they're full of shit.
Because they know they're full of shit, and then they would have to reevaluate everything they believe in. That's why.
The fact that people are saying, say her name to this stupid idiot that.
Oh my God, don't get me started. Oh man, I forgot about that.
You're literally going to do the thing that literally millions of people marched all summer. So jokes write themselves, man. Jokes write themselves.
And the cop that they killed, where's Blue Lives Matter? Where they at? Where they at? Where they at? And for the record, for anybody who thinks who thinks it's contradictory for someone like me who marches in Black Lives Matter protests to be like, why do you care about cops now? My mission in marching for Black Lives Matter protests was never to hurt a fucking cop. Never wanted to hurt a cop. It was to make cops and the criminal justice understand what is going on in the black and brown community in regards to being disproportionately affected by the criminal justice system. It was never to say, fuck cops, we want to kill you all. That has never been the message. So it's not the fucking same thing. Yes, I cared that a cop was killed. Just like I cared that 2 cops were killed in Dallas that one time during a BLM march. I don't fucking condone that. And BLM does not condone that. We are not marching because we hate cops or because we want cops dead. Okay, if a cop were to die during a BLM march, I'd be just as fucking infuriated. So fuck you. I am dropping F-bombs, man. Jesus
Hey, man,
Christ.
I love it. I don't want to be the only one dropping F-bombs on every show. I love it, man. You're seeing the dark side finally.
I hate the fact that we get this rap that we hate police officers.
Because again, it's narrative driven. Because again, they can't argue you on the issues, so they want to meet you on like these like phony, fraudulent, like, oh, you're a communist and you hate cops and you this and you're an anarchist. Like, you're an anarchist because you believe that black people's lives should matter and that, you want to hold the justice system accountable. You're an anarchist, which totally goes against what an anarchist is, but whatever. Not to mention, like, it's just stupid because again, they can't face you on the issues. They can't argue on the issues. So what they try to do is just they try to deflect. Yeah. That's what I've always said. Like, they don't want to actually have a discussion on the issues, so they want to deflect. Like the whole thing with the defund the police, right?
On our side,
The data's on the side, and I think that
The optics are on our side.
The optics are on our side, right? Yeah. So even with the defund the police, they don't actually the name. You can't run around singing like this stupid bitch Abigail, whatever her name is in Virginia. Oh, if we start running around this country telling them to defund the police, shut the fuck up. Like really? You're hung up on a name? Seriously?
That would actually make the cops' jobs better, by the way. It would make the jobs easier for police officers, which is a thing that I advocate for, that you advocate for, and people who say defund the police. It's like, hey, let's take some things off of your plate. So I
live in Seattle, or I live in the Seattle area, right? The Seattle metropolitan area. Their police budget is $300 million, and education's like $18 million.
Like what? Seriously? Like you can't give a couple mil to education?
No, not just a little bit. We literally have a homelessness crisis. We literally have a homelessness crisis.
We can't give some housing a little.
But no, we can't even take like 25 million out of that 330 million to just say, you know what, we're going to give that to the homelessness crisis and actually try to have a full good faith effort to try to fix the homelessness crisis. No, we're not going to do that.
Right.
No.
Oh yeah,
cops need tanks.
We need Teslas in New York City. We need Teslas in New York City. Give me a break.
Cops need tanks and cannons. That's what they need.
Which also would make their job easier, because a lot of the problems that police face when it comes to them being in danger is because of socioeconomic issues. People are acting out because of these type of issues. So yeah, do you want we live in a better society, you're going to have less problems.
Who knows?
With police officers.
I don't know if these people have ever thought about this, but maybe if you don't dress your police officers as an occupying military, maybe people would not be afraid to talk to them. I don't know. It's just a thought. I'm not an expert, man. I'm just a guy with a fucking, I'm not an expert.
I'm just a black guy living in America. What do I know?
What do I know, right? I don't know anything.
Oh man.
But and then let's move on, because
all right.
God. Yeah, very spirited. Geez, I feel like we can't even do justice to Super Wildcard Weekend now after our But honestly, man, realistically, that's the major story. I'm sorry, we're not going to focus too much energy on football. I mean, we're going to go through it, but obviously, a fucking coup in the Capitol should be the lead story. And every
American should be fucking pissed. Every single one, no matter what side of the aisle you live on, you vote on, you should be pissed off.
Yeah, absolutely. Second that. All right, man. Super Wildcard Weekend. Really two games that were like worth their salt. I mean, the Redskins did it again. DC. I'll just go DC. I'm gonna just call them DC. DC and Tampa was fun for Taylor Heineke, but you never really felt like there was maybe like a glimmer of hope, maybe a moment there, late third quarter, early fourth quarter, where you thought that Washington gets a stop. This game is getting interesting, but honestly, you just never felt that game was in danger. But honestly, the two best games of the weekend were Colts, Bills, and Titans, Ravens. I think most people would have predicted that going into the weekend. The Rams Seahawks game was interesting for a while.
It was boring.
No, literally the game that I just felt like literally just put half of America to sleep is the Bears and the Saints. I mean, come on. Like,
honestly, man, I didn't watch it. I didn't even.
I was sitting here, and I'm forced to quarantine because of my surgery coming up on Thursday. So I couldn't even like not step away and do other shit because I had like literally had nothing else to do. And it's just like, oh God, this game is just horrible. Like literally just like, honestly, we should have a mercy rule. Like literally just like Trubisky is just fucking awful.
It was only a 12-point game, but yeah. I get
he's awful. Like, listen, anybody that wants to give Trubisky a pass at this point, seriously, the guy is just awful.
Yeah, he's bad.
He's just terrible. And Matt Nagy, look, I have friends of mine who are Jet fans, and shout out to DA and Paulie. They do a great job covering, turn on the Jets and all the stuff that they do. But I mean, I had conversations with them this week. Like, Matt Nagy is some sort of a decent coach. Matt Nagy's not a great coach. He's not a great coach.
Well, I think his first year, with that offense, it seemed to be very creative, to be okay in it.
He's supposed to be an offensive guru. The Bears are boring. They're not great offensively.
The first year when they made the playoffs, when they lost on that field goal to the Eagles, I think that year, I wouldn't say they were boring, but I think there was something there.
He conned a lot of people into thinking that he was going to be this this next, this next offensive genius to come along. No, they're not. And look, I get it. Trubisky hasn't turned out the way, hasn't developed into the quarterback that I think he probably felt like he was going to be, especially after that first year. I get that plays into it, but I mean, that team's not bereft of talent. Like everybody likes to think like the Bears have no talent on offense. They have talent. David Montgomery's talented. Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller. I mean, they've got a talented team. Look, are they the Chiefs? No, but they're a talented group there, and they just got all. I mean, honestly, I'd rather watch fucking the XFL than watch the Bears.
You much more fun game that would have been if it was Cardinals Saints. Kyler Murray.
Yes, anybody. Hell, I'd rather watch the Jets Saints than the Bears and the Saints. I mean, God. Listen, Trubisky. Listen, Sam Darnold's better than Mitch Trubisky. I don't even think it's an argument. Sam Darnold, half of the man that he was right this year and the last couple years, is still better than Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky's fucking trash. Like he's the worst
starting quarterback in the league. Let's be honest.
I don't want to say he's the worst. I can't even think. Who's
worse than him?
Okay.
Regular starter. Gardner Minshew?
No, Gardner Minshew's better. I'll go to my grave saying Gardner Minshew's better.
All right.
Tua? Tua's better.
Tua's better.
Drew Lock's probably better. Drew Lock's better. I'm not even going to say probably. Well, you go by the divisions. The AFC West. Obviously Mahomes, Drew Lock, Herbert, obviously.
Yep.
And Derek Carr. He's not better than any of those four.
Nope.
AFC South. He's not better than
Tannehill.
No.
Rivers.
Not better than Rivers. Even though Rivers is old, he's still not better than Rivers.
Nope. Deshaun Jackson. Nope.
Deshaun Jackson, obviously no. Or Deshaun Watson, no. And
Gardner.
And we already talked about Gardner Minshew. AFC North, obviously Big Ben. I know. Jokes aside with tonight. No, he's not better than Big Ben. No, he's not better than Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Baker Mayfield. No.
I like Baker, man. Baker's turning up, bro.
I don't like Baker Mayfield, but whatever. I'll give you Baker Mayfield, and he's not better than Joe Burrow. And he's not better than Burrow.
Nope.
Okay, you can go to the AFC East. He's not better than Tua or Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Right. You're right.
He's not better than Sam Darnold.
He's not. I take Darnold over him.
He's not better than Cam.
No.
And obviously Josh Allen, right?
Yeah.
So then, of course, in the NFC, he's not better than Russell Wilson. He's not better than Garoppolo. He's not better than Kyler Murray. And he's not better than Goff.
Okay.
He's not better than Alex Smith.
No.
I would take Taylor Heineke over him.
I saw one game of Heineke, but okay.
I saw more out of Taylor Heineke in one game than I've ever seen out of Mitch Trubisky. Let's just be fucking real.
Okay.
He's not better. He's better than Daniel Jones.
Wow, Daniel Jones actually is this bad.
He's better than Daniel. Like, think about it. Like, it's almost a tie. Like, I'll be nice. I'll
take Daniel Jones over him.
I would take Daniel Jones.
I'll take Daniel Jones over him, but this just actually made me realize how bad Daniel Jones is.
I would take Trubisky over Daniel Jones just because of the threat of running. Like, he's more mobile than Daniel Jones. Jones can run, but Jones is just still. I still think Trubisky's more athletic. So just on the athleticism alone, I'll take Trubisky, but it's not saying much. Okay. Maybe as a Daniel Jones, we'll leave Daniel Jones out of it. Obviously, Alex Smith, Taylor Heineke. He's not better than Dak. He's not better than Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz.
Jalen's a little early, don't you think? You saw more out of Jalen though.
Yeah. And I'm not even a big Jalen Hurts fan. You know that. And I still would take Jalen Hurts. Like, I think if you put Jalen Hurts on the Bears, they have a better performance. I'm not saying they win, but I think they have a better performance.
Okay.
And then, is that everybody?
No, his own division. Rodgers.
Oh, obviously Rodgers. He's not better than Cousins. He's not better than Stafford, and obviously his own division. So yeah, I just don't. Yeah, he might be the worst starting quarter. Oh my God, yeah.
Daniel Jones really might be the second worst starting quarterback in the league.
I know some people will put Sam Darnold in that.
Sam. I don't care what anybody says.
This year, from a numbers perspective, you could put Sam Darnold as an awful quarterback, but honestly, if you put Sam Darnold on the Bears,
yeah,
the Bears win 10 games, and this is a more competitive game, without a doubt. I don't care. I don't care who wants to flame me on Twitter. You put Sam Darnold on this team over Mitch Trubisky, the Bears make this a game. They may not win. They may still get killed, but I think it's a better performance. I think he plays better than Mitch Trubisky. He gives you more signs of hope than Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky's terrible. And I think today was like the realization, because I was always like, he's got flashes. Like, and maybe because I just don't watch.
He has games where he throws like 5 touchdowns.
And maybe because I don't watch a lot of the Bears. So it's like, maybe I was just jaded by that. But like today I like watched him closely. He's fucking trash. Like and look, I know the Saints defense is pretty good, but still, my God. I mean, just some of the and the kid Wynn just dropped one of the worst drops I've ever seen. I mean, he just literally has a wide open touchdown and just dropped right. Come on, dude. Yeah. So that Bears Saints game just put America to sleep. And then of course, so you want to talk about the Steelers and the Browns? Obviously, since that's the fresh game.
Listen, the Steelers, I guess they were pretenders the whole time, right? I mean, I
don't want to say they're pretenders.
I'm surprised their defense just.
They had a lot of injuries, man. I think the defense
40 something to the Browns though.
Without their head coach, missing offensive linemen, their corners, like
it's just 20 something, but 48 points.
This game was more on the Steelers than it was on the Browns. Like I know everybody's going to make this about the Browns, and look, credit to the Browns. They obviously with everything that franchise has been through, 18-year playoff drought, to come in to beat your rival who kills you constantly. Yeah, I get it, but still. This game was more about the Steelers to me. The complete no-show, the first like 15, 20 minutes of this game by the Steelers is just jarring to me. Yeah. It's just jarring to me. I mean, how the fuck are you not prepared for this game? And that's what it looked like. They just looked unprepared, just pouncy with the bad snap to start the game. I mean, it just looks like a team that just was not ready to play. And that's on Tomlin. And I like Tomlin. I love Coach Tomlin, but that's on Tomlin. When your team's not ready to play, that's on Coach Tomlin.
I agree.
Ben's old. I mean, Ben's old, and I love Big Ben. I know it's heresy to say you like Big Ben. I like Big Ben. His sexual proclivities aside, I like Big Ben, the quarterback. Yeah. But he looks old. He just looks shot. The throws. He just doesn't look like he has it anymore. I think the Steelers have some serious questions to answer this offseason.
Oh yeah,
with Ben, with their quarterback position. Obviously they have some free agents. I don't want to say the Steelers were pretenders the whole time. I think the injuries really affected that team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And their offense, they have a lot of potential, especially with Claypool and Deontay Johnson and James Washington and all that, but their running game is terrible. I don't, to me, James Conner is not a lead back in the NFL to me. Benny Snell has his moments, but he's not a lead guy. To me, their running game is a bunch of backups.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what their running game is.
Back in the draft.
To me, I think if they had a decent running back, if they had a David Montgomery, a Zach Moss, anything, I think that better serve this team long term. Because their defense is good enough to win when healthy. Obviously, I think they've shown that through the first 12 weeks of the season. They showed that. They had some injuries, so I think you got to count for that. But yeah, the last 6 weeks, the Steelers just were terrible. I mean, terrible. I mean, it took a stirring comeback against the Colts for them to even be in this spot. And then to get killed tonight. Yeah. They have some questions to answer, man. They really do. Yeah. Anything to say about the Browns?
Nah, man. I listen, I know you're not a big Baker fan. I'm not a huge Baker fan, but I am happy to see him advance to the second round. I'm happy for the city of Cleveland.
Yeah.
It sucks. When you have a franchise that's been that bad for that long, you're just dying for some type of success. And listen, Baker's played well, man. And I said this, I just tweeted this. It reminds me of Eli. When Eli came around, all of a sudden it's like, oh, Eli's competent. Oh my God, the Giants won the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with the Browns. I don't think the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl. That's what it reminds me of, because that's how Eli's career kind of happened. It was like trash, 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 trash. Oh, he's not bad. Oh, he's actually playing well. Oh my God, we won the damn Super Bowl. And then from then on out, it was just like ups and downs to Eli. Yeah. I think that's what Baker's going to be. Right now he's riding a wave that's pretty high. It wouldn't surprise me if he comes back down to earth for a little bit. I think he's going to have an incredibly inconsistent career, but I do think, the Browns finally found a quarterback that they can win with, because obviously it's showing you could win Baker Mayfield. You can, kind of turn him into a game manager, and he can make plays on his feet. He can do other things when you need him to do it. I think he's the perfect quarterback for that type of team that relies on their defense. Just don't turn the ball over.
He's a better Jeff Garcia. Is essentially what he is. Like I look at him, I compare, which is fine. He's a second division quarterback in a sense. He's a guy that, to me, Baker Mayfield is not a franchise quarterback in the sense that you just throw him out there and he instantly makes guys better. I think with an infrastructure around Baker Mayfield, you have a good running game, good receivers, solid O-line, defense, et cetera, good coaching. You can win 10, 11 games with Baker Mayfield. Obviously, you've seen it this year. You could probably even win a division. You could probably win a round or two in the playoffs. But is he a guy that you're going to win with long term, like big? You're going to win a Super Bowl with? I don't know. I don't think so.
It depends on
and if they have an all-world defensive performance and he gets hot, could they possibly make a run?
The way the 08 Giants won the Super Bowl, that's how he would have to win.
He's a Joe Flacco type. He's that like second-tier quarterback. And that's okay. And you can win a Super Bowl. I'm not even ready to say that he's there yet.
Okay.
I still consider him more on the lower end, or at least in the mid-tier level, than I would say even that second tier. But hey, I'm more happy for Cleveland, the city and the franchise and the fans. Yeah, that franchise deserved this, obviously. So yeah, credit to them, and for them to come out and play the way that they played. Obviously, the Steelers, huge assist to the Steelers, but for them to come out as inspired and as motivated without their coach. And key players, not just like backups or guys that, the 49th guy on the team. I mean, it just huge contributors. Bitoni, Denzel Ward, Pro Bowl, all pros. Right. Important cogs to the machine. And for them to come out and play like the way they did is incredible. And a credit to them and to the players and that coaching staff. So yeah, credit to Cleveland for real. Obviously we talked about Saints Bears. No need to relive that. Titans and the Ravens, man. Lamar Jackson finally winning a big game.
Yeah, shout out to Lamar. I think he played well from like the second quarter on. But shout out to the Ravens defense, man. I think the Ravens defense has a lot of credit for this. I mean, you hold Derrick Henry to 40 yards.
Absolutely.
The pick at the end, and just totally taking out any type of that. And listen, the Titans' offense is good. Like that's how they win games. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm happy for Lamar. He deserves credit. But to me, the story is the defense.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I think the defense was probably the players of the game, if you had to give an award to. But Lamar played well. Outplayed Ryan Tannehill. He completely outplayed Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill did not have a great game. That's not an indictment on Ryan Tannehill. It's just a fact. He just did not play well. And Derrick Henry, their two best players didn't play well. I mean, they didn't play well. They didn't. Derrick Henry just did not show up. And Ryan Tannehill did not play a great game. So, and Lamar Jackson did what he was supposed to do after he struggled early. And that's the other thing. That's the thing about Lamar Jackson that I needed to see. After because he has a tendency of like maybe he throws a bad pick or things don't go his way early. He kind of gets a little bit in his head and slumps his shoulders and whatever. But he stayed with it. And once he got hot, once he got going, he made some beautiful throws, made some great plays. I mean, the breakaway run he had there for the touchdown was phenomenal. I mean, it's just Lamar. I mean, Lamar Jackson is just incredible. I mean, the fact that this kid gets so much shit and he's had the career that he's had so far. Right. I mean, if he stays healthy, the sky's the limit. And I think the frustrating thing about it is like he's a better pocket passer than people give him credit for.
I agree.
His arm is incredible, and he's got accuracy. Now he overthrows it sometimes, but I think that's more of a mechanism of
his accuracy. It's decent. It's nothing that you write home about, but his
accuracy is not as great, but his arm is there. He's a cannon for an arm. Yeah. And as long as he's able to, make plays with his feet, obviously the speed will diminish as he ages, obviously, but if he's still able to make he continues to have a footwork or improve his footwork. Yeah. The sky's the limit for Lamar Jackson, man. I like the kid. The team, you could just tell the teammates just love him.
Right.
He's one of those guys that just galvanizes that team. And I'm happy for him, man. And I'm happy for him because, I'm someone that I believe that black quarterbacks get judged unfairly. I mean, they just do. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. It is. Anybody that wants to argue it, come holler at me. Like, it's just fact. Like the fact. I mean, there's people on Twitter like, oh, he played an average game, but people go overhype him. Like he played a great game. Like
they say like the 140. What are we like 140 something yards? And I think people are so used to seeing the 300 yards, and it's like, well, it's not only.
But he's not that quarterback. So why are you? But he's just as effective as a Mahomes or a Josh Allen.
He broke out a 47 yard touchdown for him. What do you want to do? And then he had the run to steal the game.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, but credit to Lamar Jackson, man. Finally winning his big game. And, credit to the Ravens defense specifically, and look, the Ravens are a live team, man. I think the Ravens can make the run.
So
I think the Ravens can make the run, and I think that's going to be an interesting matchup next weekend. Buffalo Ravens. And
it might be the game. That might be game of the playoffs. I'm not going to lie.
It may be. That and Saints and Bucks could be interesting too. I wasn't that impressed with the Saints too, by the way.
I was impressed with the Saints or the Bucks.
To me, they struggled to beat two really pedestrian teams.
They don't win pretty. The Saints don't win pretty ever.
Yeah,
except that one time in Tampa when they beat the crap out of the Bucks. That's the only game I was like, oh wow.
They don't win pretty, and I think it's a lot of it is a mechanism of Breeze just not being the same guy. Even though I thought he made some good plays today, and for the most part played okay. Threw some bad interceptions, but at this point, that's to be expected with him. He's just old; he can't do it anymore. But I wasn't impressed with the Saints. I was like, that game was in the balance for a long time, a lot longer than it should have been, especially with that awful putrid performance again by Mitchell Trubisky. I can't say that enough. The dude is just fuck. That's one of the worst playoff games I've seen a quarterback have in a long time. Jesus, that game was bad. So Titans Ravens, that was a fun game, and and the crowd was that to me showed me what having a crowd in a football stadium in January does, because that was a fun game. It was loud. Credit to the Titans fans. Just the atmosphere felt like a playoff game with the crowd. That just adds so much to it. So that probably was my favorite game of the weekend. Redskin, I do it again. DC. Washington football team against the Buccaneers. What did you think about that game? Taylor Heineke. I guess the story of the game was Taylor Heineke.
I guess. I mean, it was one of those games where at no point did I think the Buccaneers were in trouble. So for me, it was like the game never felt like it was in balance, even when it was a 5-point game. Like I was always confident that the Bucs were going to pull it out. So it was just kind of like, to be honest with you, for me, it was like, are the Bucs going to cover? I don't know if the Bucs going to cover. Yeah. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I had at no point did I think the Redskins.
Question: does Alex Smith play? Do the Redskins win? Or I did it again. Do the Washington football team win?
No. I don't. It's a different game, but I don't think they win.
Yeah. I'm generally agree with you. Although who knows? I mean, it's one of those things. Who knows, right? Who the hell knows? Right. Who knows? Maybe Aaron. Maybe Alex Smith has the game of his life. Who the hell knows, right? Maybe. It's all conjecture, right? But I wasn't impressed with Tampa either. Brady played well. Did what he had to do. The defense played okay. Tampa just kind of, I don't know. They kind of walked through most of the game. But I think the story of the game, I don't even think it's the story. I don't think it's without argument. It's Taylor Heineke. I think he surprised a lot of people. Kid can play. I don't know what that means. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, I know I took him over Trubisky. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think Taylor Heineke now is going to be,
the franchise quarterback for
the Washington football team. I'm not going to sit there and go that far, but I think he deserves a look next year, without a doubt. I think he deserves a look. Could he be a Jake Delhomme type guy, kind of come out of nowhere and be a successful quarterback in the league? Absolutely. Why not? I'm rooting for the kid. Good story. He made plays. He played well. He was fun to watch. He made some beautiful throws too.
Yeah,
made some beautiful throws. Look, DC's got a bright future, man. I think they need to figure out the quarterback situation. I agree. Obviously, I think
have weapons, man. McLaurin's
they have weapons. No joke. McLaurin's a beast. Steven Sims Jr. is good. Antonio Gibson. What's his face? The tight end that used to be a QB for Vatek.
Logan Thomas.
Logan Thomas is really good. Yeah, I think he's coming into his own as a tight end. The defense is incredible. Like, their defensive line is scary with Sweat and and Thomas. I mean, it's just their defensive line is just scary. They got a good offensive line too. I mean, they have the components, man. They just got to figure out the quarterback situation. So, they got a bright future in DC. They got a bright future, and Ron Rivera is a very good coach. So, we'll see. We'll see what Taylor Heineke becomes. I'm interested to see going forward. And then to me, the game of the weekend for me was Bills and Colts. Really good game, fun game, matchup I was looking forward to. My Colts almost pulled it off, man. Almost did. Oh my God.
Horrible play calling. I mean, horrible coaching the whole game, to be honest.
Yes, Frank Reich. What the fuck? Like, what was he thinking about? Awful.
Going forward on fourth down after you just got pushed back to the 5 was stupid. Take the points there. Going for that 2-point conversion was stupid. Take the extra point there. And then also when they got, first and 10, where were they at? Like around their 45, 50 to end the game? Mm-hmm. The play calling even there. You just need like 5, 6.
Was that the play calling, or was that just a combination of Phillip Rivers and the play calling, or was it just exclusively Phillip Rivers?
Calling. It just didn't seem like just run quick outs. Like, you know what I mean? Or, you could even go in the mid. You could actually even run a quick slant to middle of the field, line up and spike the balls. Like there's things you can do. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to rely on the sidelines at that point. It wasn't like there was like 4 seconds left. You had about like 18 seconds
after they got bailed out too by the officials, because that was a fumble. Yeah,
you could have run a quick slant 10 yards, hurry up to the line, spike it, and you would have been fine. To me, it was play calling.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and I like Frank Reich. I like Frank Reich as a coach. Yeah,
so do I. It was weird to see him actually like be so bad in a huge situation.
Well, I think he's another one of these coaches, kind of like Doug Peterson, where he like they try to get too cute in these games, man. They try to get too cute, and it was like, oh, look at this. I could throw, I could tell the quarterback to throw a play out of my ass, and go 10 yards and an out pattern. Like, what are you doing? Like, just focus on what you need to do right here. So no, I think he tried to get too cute in certain situations there. I didn't mind going for it there because I thought in a game like this, you're going to need points. So even at that moment, at that level in the game, you're going to need points. So I didn't mind that. I just didn't like the play calling. I just didn't like the play that they ran there. The analytics stuff, and that's a team that's like really big on the analytics. I didn't love
that 2-point conversion. Oh my God, that drove me nuts when I saw that happen.
No, I agree.
I mean, it didn't affect anything in the game.
What was the point? Like, that's the other thing about it is like some of these 2-point conversions is like, what is the point? Like, you can't even tell me what the philosophical.
It would have done nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing.
And it's such a momentum killer too. It's such a momentum killer because it's like you score there and you kick the extra point. You feel like you have momentum. You go for these 2-point conversions in like these awkward spots in the game, and then you run a terrible play or you get stopped, and it just feels like it halts your momentum, doesn't it? Like at least that's what I feel like.
Yes. 1,000%.
I didn't understand that. So credit to the Bills. First playoff win since '95. Yeah, Bills got it going.
They do.
Bills got it going.
They do.
I know we'll get to our predictions here in a second, but I think the Ravens are gonna beat them next week.
I do too. I'm with you.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be a matchup of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, two very similar quarterbacks. If you really look at it.
I think they're gonna beat them. I think if that defense can play it the way they did against Tennessee, and obviously Josh Allen's a different animal than Ryan Tannehill.
Yep.
But hey, listen, I just think a lot of it has to do with momentum. I know the Bills are hot right now, but I don't know, man. It's something about the Ravens. They have the it factor for me.
Yeah. And then Seahawks and the Rams. Anything about that game for you?
I think Russell Wilson needs to be slandered a little bit.
I agree. I'm glad you went there. Oh God, yes, I'm glad you went there.
I think it's time that we need to stop throwing flowers on everything this man does. He had a great beginning of the season to the point where he was an MVP candidate, and then after week 7 was it? He just fell off a cliff.
Yes.
I mean, and was just the pick.
We're the only ones talking about it too, by the way. Like, I don't see anybody, any show, and mainstream media. Like, I don't hear anybody talking about this.
I mean, he wasn't not just not playing like Russell Wilson. He was playing like a bad quarterback.
He's playing like Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, and I understand he doesn't have a line. I understand that he has to scramble and make shit happen. But you have DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett, you have weapons there. Chris Carson's a decent back. There's no reason why you shouldn't have been clicking the way you were clicking in the beginning of the season. In the beginning of the season, your offense showed that they were capable of doing those type of things. Now, I'm not saying you have to keep that level up all season, but they went from one of the best offenses in the league to absolutely putrid, awful.
Absolutely.
What has to do with him?
Yeah, I think this game is on him. He just had a terrible game. Terrible game. Bad throws, a bad pick. Oh, just terrible. Yeah. Honestly, I think he probably played just as bad, if not worse, than Mitch Trubisky.
He was bad.
He was terrible. Terrible. And look, the Rams defense, we've all thrown flowers at the Rams defense. The Rams defense is incredible. How the fuck the Jets beat the Rams is still mind-boggling to me. But be that as it may. Russell Wilson needs to start getting slandered. This is not a guy that has 4 Super Bowls. This is a guy that has 1 championship. And a lot of that championship was on the defense. It wasn't on him.
Agreed.
And then he threw probably one of the worst picks in Super Bowl postseason history. It wasn't one of it. It was the worst pick. It probably was, yes. The worst decision in Super Bowl history by far. This is I think a lot of people treat Russell Wilson like he's Tom Brady. Like he's a guy that's got 4 championships and it's above reproach. Like, no, this dude needs to start getting slandered a little bit. People are willing to kill Aaron Rodgers now, but they give Russell Wilson a pass.
Russell smiles. He
smiles. He's married to Sierra. Yay. Like, nah, man, this dude needs to start getting killed, bro. He's been terrible. He's been terrible for about 8 weeks now.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Every year, too. There's weeks every year.
Yes. And there's playoff games every year where he has a bad interception or he makes a bad decision or he takes a bad sack.
And even that one time in Minnesota where Blair missed a kick from like 20 yards. Like,
he wasn't great in that game.
Yeah, he scored like 6 points that game.
He's a weird player to evaluate, man, because I think it's hard to describe him, man. It's like there's things you love about him. The escapability.
Well, his ceiling is incredible. His ceiling
is incredible. The throws, his accuracy. He just throws the ball. Just beautiful. He probably has the best deep ball.
Yeah.
From an accuracy perspective, he has the best deep ball in the NFL. I mean, it's just phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
And just some of the plays that he can make off broken plays, it's just incredible. His improvisation is just out. I mean, it's just he's a great quarterback. No one is going to sit here and debate that Russell Wilson isn't a top 5 quarterback. But for a guy that's that great, he has a lot of games like he had on Saturday.
Yeah.
A lot, and especially in big games.
I think next year you're going to start hearing people say it a little more.
Like if we were willing to sit here and create a narrative around Lamar Jackson after 3 seasons,
right?
One of which he won an MVP.
Yeah.
Why can't we kill Russell Wilson in his 10th year in the league?
He won early,
but he won on the defense, and everybody knows it.
I know, but he's also
defense tells you all the time they were the catalyst.
He's married to Sierra. He's a very positive person.
And he's a good guy, and this is not an indictment on him, anything he does. This is just also
interesting, though, because there's been stories all the time about how, players on the Seahawks throughout his whole
don't love him. Yeah, don't love him.
They don't love him. They think he's coddled.
Yeah. And honestly, just living out here, because I live out here and I see the media out here, he does no wrong. He's perfect. He's perfect in every way. He's the golden boy, and he does not face criticism. And I get it. There's going to be a lot of that in any home market, but it's about time, man. I'm just speaking from a national perspective. Like, it's about time we start killing Russell Wilson a little bit more.
I agree.
Like, his performance in that playoff game was just absolutely putrid, and it deserves to get killed. And the other thing I want to talk about this game, for a lot of people love killing Jared Goff. That guy wins a lot. You ever notice that? For a guy that gets killed a lot.
It's what frustrates me about the way people talk about Jared Goff. They talk about him as he's like this trash quarterback.
They talk about him like he's Mitch Trubisky.
He's an average quarterback, which is cool. Like, he's fine.
I don't think I think he's above average.
I think he's slightly above average, but people talk about him like he's like trash.
You know what he is? He's above average. He's a Joe Flacco type.
I was going to say Eli.
No, he's a Joe Flacco type. He's a guy that just wins. Like, look at his record. Look at his career record outside of his rookie year. And I know a lot of that's McVay, a lot of defense, talent. I get all that. But for a guy that people consistently shit on, he does win a lot.
He's fine.
Like, his playoff record is pretty good. Like, he wins. I mean, this is a guy that outplayed Drew Brees in the Superdome, in the NFC Championship game.
Super Bowl. He took him to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't get the Goff hate. If you want to be
I tweeted that I tweeted that on Saturday night. I was like, hey, for a guy that a lot of people shit on, that we're willing to basically discard him for some, this guy we've never heard of like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
This is a kid that does win a lot of games. And look, he came into that game. No one expected him to play. You could tell that the thumb is still bothering him. Outside of maybe the first couple series, maybe basically the first quarter, basically I would say like halfway through the second quarter, you could kind of see that he was starting to get his draw. And he made some big throws and made some big plays in that game. The guy just wins.
And I'll also say this. A lot of times I think the Rams offense struggles because of McVay. And I think that's a very unpopular opinion, but I think McVay gets too cute sometimes. And I think sometimes he has these formations that are very obvious where it's like,
it's very Doug Peterson, Frank Reich like.
He's very attached. Like, how many times are we going to see a Robert Woods jet sweep a game? Like, you don't think defenses are going to catch on to that every once in a while? Like, so for me, it's
agreed.
Ever since Gurley was not Gurley anymore, that Rams offense just kind of like. Now Akers seems to be promising.
Akers is a beast,
and I think as he develops next year, I think they can revolve the offense around him and have him take that Gurley role, and that would actually diversify the offense. But I don't know, man. I think McVay. I like McVay. I think he's a good coach, but I think we gave him the genius title too early. And I think a lot of times the offense has struggled because I think it became very predictable. I went to a few Rams games when I was out in Los Angeles, and you could just tell by the formations, by who was in, the people who were in, what they were doing. So I don't know. Yeah. And if I can tell that without watching film,
right?
I mean, defensive coordinators when they're in their meetings, like, well, when Cooper Kupp's out the game, they're gonna like. That's what I'm saying. It's just, I don't know. I think
people make it sound like that offense doesn't have playmakers on it. Like, they have a lot better playmakers.
Oh my God!
People they should be a lot better offensively than they are.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that is on McVay. A lot of that is also on Goff. I'm not trying to say
no. Goff makes stupid mistakes here and there. I'm not going to say he does. That's why I said he reminds me of Eli, because sometimes Eli would make a play and I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? And I get that with Goff.
You're right. You know what? He is Eli. Even just the way he carries himself.
Yeah,
he looks
nonchalant, like
sometimes. He looks lost sometimes. He very much Eli. I think he's a more consistent version of Eli.
Yeah, but the dumb
his ceiling is not as high as Eli.
Correct.
But he's more consistent than Eli.
And his floor's not as low as Eli.
Right.
Eli has like the biggest gap of floor and ceiling I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly. I agree.
It's ridiculous.
I've always said this. Eli is like that pitcher in Major League Baseball that throws 100 and you just never know where the ball's going. But when he figures it out, for the couple of starts that he figures it out,
he's top 5, top 3 quarterback in the league. And then the next week he could be literally the worst quarterback in the league.
Eli's like a pitcher that can go out there and strike out 10 guys, go 8 innings, give up 1 run, and he's just like, why doesn't he pitch like this every day? And then the next start, he'll go out there and give up 7 runs and be out of there in the second inning. Like that's literally who Eli Manning is. And Jared Goff has a lot of that.
Yeah, but Eli could literally be Aaron Rodgers one week and then Mitch Trubisky the next. That's Eli Manning.
And I think the Rams are going to win next week.
I do too. Look at this. We're on the same page. We're on the same page.
Even though I have the Packers as my Super Bowl pick, I think the Rams, that defense.
Well, if Goff plays, Goff is going to play, because I think Goff is the better quarterback, and I think that's
he's the better quarterback. And I said it yesterday to a couple of friends of mine. I'm like, if the dude, I forgot his name. What the fuck is his name? The guy that got him
or whatever.
Walford, Wofford. I called him Wofford a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Walford, whatever the hell his name is. If that guy would have played, the Seahawks would have still figured out a way to win that game.
Yeah,
Jared Goff made all the difference in the world, and I think, look, that defense is incredible, man. That defense is.
And that's the thing. My biggest beef with the Packers was that they go on these really cold spells every once in a while.
Yeah, you've called it. Yeah, you've said that.
And then you have Jalen Ramsey, who's going to be on Devontae Adams. And I'm not saying that like he's going to lock him up, but you're going to have the best cornerback in the league, because that's what Jalen Ramsey was this year. He was the best cornerback in the league against Devontae Adams. The rest of the defense can do their work. I mean, I just don't think it bodes well. I don't trust MVS to make plays. Maybe the Packers run the ball more than usual. Who knows? But I think the Packers are going to struggle scoring the football against that team. It's just whether or not Goff has a good game, and I think he'll have a decent enough game for him to win. So I expect like a 24-17 type game.
Yeah, I think I agree. I agree with you. Absolutely. I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks. I think Rodgers has to kind of save them again, especially against that defense. Rodgers is going to have to make some big plays against that defense, and Goff has to show up and play well. He has to, like, he can't start out the game like he started out against the Seahawks, because he's just going to put him in a hole. So
he got thrown in there, and then
that was a little different circumstance. But I think but you know what I mean. Goff can't have his like slow starts and slow performances. Like, he has to play well. He has to have a Goff like performance like he had against Drew Brees a couple years ago. Like, he has to outplay Rodgers. I think he can. I think he's capable of it. We'll see.
I think so too, but I think so too. I just don't. I think this is where Rodgers' lack of wide receiver weapons is going to come into play, especially when you.
He has good wide receivers. I don't think he has.
Man. After Devontae, he doesn't have anyone really special who can create space. MVS drops drops the ball.
Lazard's a good little receiver.
Right.
He's not. He's a
more
good
of a 3-4. Like
he's more of a slot guy, 3-4 guy. You know, but he's solid.
Tanyan's good.
Tanyan is good. I think
the
whole
Packers win, Tanyan has a big game.
I think the whole Rodgers has to have receivers like he's throwing the Todd Pinkston and Freddie Mitchell type.
Listen, it's not on that level. But it's also on the level where it's like he has one guy, and then after that, it's like okay.
There's a precipitous drop, but his run game is really good. So I think that makes up for it, as opposed to and his receivers are a lot better.
They're a solid ass offense. It's not like we're talking about a putrid offense.
Yeah.
They just go through.
Look, the Packers should still win, but I have a funny feeling that, to me, there's two live road teams next week, Ravens and the Rams, and specifically because of their defenses.
Yeah.
The way their defense is played.
Rams are 7-point underdogs at Green Bay. I'm taking those 7 points. Give them.
Oh yeah. And then what do you got on Saints and Buccaneers?
Saints and Buccaneers. I'm taking the Saints. I know it's hard to beat a team 3 straight times in a season. I just think their defense is too good. And then also, you said this. I'm stealing your words. I think that Buccaneers defense. They play good against bad offenses, and they play bad against good offense. And the Saints offense. I'm not saying it's explosive, but they do have enough weapons where I think they can exploit the Buccaneers. And Tom Brady, he's had a nice season. He's had a better season than I thought he'd have, but that Saints defense is the best defense in the NFC, and I think they'll do just enough for them to win. I
agree. I think the Saints defense is the key. I think Brady has a decent game. He'll have a good game, but I just think the Buccaneers defense, especially their secondary, is just so bad. Yeah. I mean, Taylor Heineke was lighting him up. So I even at an advanced age, I still have to believe that Drew Brees can still find Michael Thomas and Kamara,
use
Sanders.
Kamara more. I think they should be using Kamara a little more, but
I agree. I think I trust Sean Payton to devise a scheme to score on that defense and Bowles. I think it's a close game. It's a good game. I just think the Saints just match up well against the Buccaneers for some reason. So
I agree.
It's a division matchup. The only thing that scares me is trying to beat a team 3 times.
That's the only reason why I'd be scared as a Saints fan. It is really hard to beat a team 3 times, but listen, they beat the crap out of them in Tampa. They beat the doors off of them week 1.
That's what scares me. That's what you just watch Tampa come out.
But that could also be just a matchup problem where it's
that's true, and that's what I think it is. But that's what scares me from just a sports fan perspective.
The Saints, they're healthy now. Michael Thomas is healthy. Emmanuel Sanders is no joke as a number 2. Alvin Kamara is one of the best running backs.
The Saints should absolutely win, and I'm going to pick them. I can be convinced to take in the Buccaneers, especially for what you said, trying to beat a team 3 times in a season.
That's not
just bound. Yeah. And to be fair, I wasn't that impressed with the Saints today. I mean,
they went ugly. They don't win.
I know the Bears defense is good, but there's no reason that game should have been that close. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So I think we got
Browns, Chiefs.
Rams, Packers, and then Browns. Oh, and Browns, Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs blow the doors off the Browns.
Yeah. I think this was the Browns Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I think the Browns came out motivated.
I just cannot see, especially if the Chiefs get the ball, score first. It's over.
I think the Chiefs will. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just you can't get into a shootout with Patrick Mahomes if you're back. You cannot rely on Baker Mayfield to go toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes. No. The only way the Browns win this game, honestly, is if they score first and they run
ball control. Control
the clock. That's the only. I mean, the defense is good enough to contain They're good enough to contain Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, who are coming off of a bye week. You never know how they're going to respond, even though Andy Reid teams do come off bye weeks very strong. But to me, this has blowout written all over, and the spread is 10, and I still would take the Chiefs with the 10-point spread.
Yeah, I think it's a closer game than you. I think the Chiefs have the tendency to kind of fuck around early in these games.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw it last year in the postseason. I don't think you'll see something like that. But I can see a close game. Browns kind of keep it interesting for a little while, but then eventually the Chiefs pull away in the fourth. Yeah, I just think the offense is too much. Plus, I think the emotional toll this game. You could just tell this game meant more to the Browns. The Browns season. This made their season. They won a round, made the playoffs, and then they won around, and they beat the Steelers on top of that. I could see the Chiefs kind of giving it to the Browns. Yeah, I think it's a closer game. I would take the 10 points too, but
37-20 Chiefs. That's what I got.
Yeah, that seems about right. About right. Yeah. So next week should be interesting. I think we should have some pretty good games. I definitely looking forward to the Bills and the Ravens, and and Rams Packers. I think those are going to be two really good games.
Rams Packers is going to be very good. The first day, the games are going to be incredible. The second day, it seems like they might be a little dragged out and boring.
Yeah. All right, man. I think that's it.
Good stuff.
I think that's it. Oh, Lindor is a Met.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
You deserve that congratulations.
Great week, man. Great.
I'm happy for you.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's good to have an owner that spends money, right? And wants to win.
Right? Welcome to Major League Baseball, New York Mets. Amazing, right?
Realized, we're from New York. We can actually do the damn.
Who would have thought? It's too early to get into baseball, but yes.
And honestly, it's still early, but like Carrasco too, like
that was the sneaky acquisition of the deal. To get Carrasco is a solid pitcher. I still don't love our pitching staff. Like I still think we need Bauer, and I still would want Bauer.
Yeah, I mean Carrasco's a nice 3-4.
Yeah, because to me, if you add Bauer and then you have DeGrom, Bauer, Carrasco, Stroman, Peterson, and then whatever Syndergaard gives you when he comes back in July, it's just added bonus. Yeah.
Carrasco's like your 4 or 5. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. No, Carrasco's an underrated pitcher, man. He's a good, very good pitcher. Ideally, he's a third starter on a really good team. I think he's his third starter, but he fills the position.
That's what I'm saying. And on your team, he could be a 4. Which,
if we get Bauer on this, currently slotted right now, he's probably behind DeGrom as a 2 starter. But that's why I'm saying I don't feel comfortable with Carrasco being the number 2 and Stroman the number 3. I still think we need another pitcher. Ideally for me, Bauer. But even if it's just like a Jake Odorizzi or somebody, I think we need another arm in the rotation.
You'll get.
I think we definitely need another bullpen arm.
Okay.
Yeah. But listen, so we're not done.
It's a great day to be a Met fan. Great day.
And they still might get Springer too, which is crazy.
Yep, and then the Yankees, they have no idea what the hell they're doing right now. So
is DJ LeMahieu going to sign before, MLK?
He might sign with the Mets. Watch that happen. Can you imagine?
Hey, anything to stick it to Yankee fans. That's all I'll say. Anything to stick it to Yankee fans. That's all I'll say.
That would be a thing.
All righty, man. We don't even need to do a World's Worst Human because we all know who that person is this week. Donald Trump.
1,000%.
We've already beaten that horse. Yeah, man. That's it. We are out of here. Thank you again, Josh. As always, everybody, thank you for listening. Rough times, but we'll get through it, man. We'll get through it. Next week. So I am having ACL surgery Thursday of this week.
Man,
so I wouldn't say looking forward to it. Looking forward to feeling better on my knee, obviously, finally, but not looking forward to the surgery part. A little nervous about that, but we'll see. I think it should turn out okay. So it depends on how I feel next week. We'll do a show. I think I'm leaning towards we're going to do a show. I'll drug myself if I have to do a show. If not, man, you could run the shit by yourself. AGS solo. Who knows? That might be interesting. Or you could bring on a guest. Who knows?
Bring on a guest. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know anyone who I have the same political chemistry with though. And I have.
You might want to bring on somebody right wing, man. That could make for some interesting conversations.
I actually think I know who I'm going to bring on. He's not right wing, but he's the one who invited me to this Clubhouse debate that I do
not mind if you decide to go down that route, man. I'll let you know. Obviously, we'll talk offline over the week, man. I'll see. Surgery's on Thursday morning, so obviously the first couple days will be touch and go. Obviously, from a soreness perspective, but we'll see. Everything you read, it just depends on you. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel about Sunday night. If anything, I might join the 3 of you guys for a couple minutes just to kind of get my thoughts on the games and then try to check out. Okay. But we'll see. We'll talk offline. We'll schedule that. But if anything, man, as always, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for supporting the show. If I don't do the show next week, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. As always, following, subscribing, and Josh, let them know where they can find the Dime and all the other stuff you're working on.
Dime at the Dime NBA on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. And you can find the Dime on all your podcast platforms. Just type in the Dime with Josh Rodriguez and it'll come up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As always, you can find this podcast on any platform, Spotify, Apple, Google, anywhere there's podcasts available on the internet. We are there. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at @TheEmmanuelBrown, Instagram, @TheEmmanuelBrown, Facebook, @TheEmmanuelBrown, Snapchat, MannyBro15, everywhere. Go follow me, Josh, etc. All right, man. We've talked enough. We're going to get up out of here. Hopefully Trump doesn't blow up the world in the next week. I'll be in a knee brace, so I can't do much about it. So please don't do that. Please, Donald Trump, if you ever listen, don't do that. But we're going to get up out of here. Please have a happy, safe, blessed week. For Josh Rodriguez, I'm Manny Brown. We are out of here. Peace.
Hey, my dark darlings. Hopefully, you've been enjoying our latest videos. We're a small crew here at Something Scary, so we have to make sure that the work that goes into our episodes gets done in order and on schedule. So that's why I want to tell you about our sponsor, Monday.com. Monday.com is an online teamwork platform that keeps your team connected from anywhere. I really enjoy the visual ease of using Monday.com. It helps banish the demons of confusing email chains or who's doing what and by when. It helps make sure everyone is aligned and on the same page. One of the things that I enjoy the most about Monday.com is that it's customizable, so it feels like it could fit any type of collaboration or industry. Build confidence within your team and reach every goal with ease. Visit Monday.com to start your free 2-week trial.